What's going on? What's going on, film fam? Welcome to another episode of Let the Film Speak. I am one of your hosts, Chop. Here with my main man, Willie Jack. Willie Jack, how you feeling this evening, man? How you feeling, bro?
Man, feeling good, feeling great, man. Ready to get in here and talk ball, man. We get to that time, man. It's finna get real slow, man, for all us football fans. So, man, gotta hold on to the little football we got, man. This is my only football fix now until preseason. So these Wednesdays gonna be crucial for me going
I
forward.
got you. I got you. But hey, Willie Jack, this one is still exciting for me, though. It's still an exciting time for me. And the reason why I say this is because, we get a chance to be creative, man. Come up with a bunch of different topics. And of course, this is the first one off the board. Of course, it makes the most sense. So today, man, we definitely gonna be talking about the post-draft power rankings, man. And we're gonna do the top 10. We're not gonna go through the full 32 today, for each of us, because that might take a little bit too long. We'll be here all night. You know what I'm saying? So we want to at least give y'all a chance to get back to your families, get back to dinner, whatever age I got going on. So yeah, man, we're gonna let y'all do that. But we're gonna do a post-draft power rankings, man. Go through each of me and Willie Jack's top 10, run through that list for y'all. And of course, man, we're gonna do not of course, but we're gonna do a worst team in the NFL as well. I think it's about time we do something like that as well. So if we're gonna do the top 10, let's go drop at least one. You know what I'm saying? The worst teams in the NFL. We're gonna talk about that too, explain why, and go through all those things. But before we jump into any of that, y'all know what we got, man. We got house rules, man. The house rules, of course, are the same as always. That's like, that's share, that's subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Become the newest member of the Film Fam. We truly appreciate everybody, for tuning in, for the support, for the participation. Talk to us, we talk back, as my dog Willie Jack likes to say all the time.
Already.
And don't forget to hit that notification bell. How else are you going to find out when me and Willie Jack got something coming up? You know what I'm saying? When we got something in the works, when we in the kitchen cooking. So of course we want y'all to be involved and know what we got coming up. And I guarantee you, we will not let you down, man. Guarantee you.
Won't let you down. Come on now.
All right. Now let's go ahead and jump into some news, Willie Jack. First bit of news we got today, man. We got the New York Giants. The New York Giants, man, they end up extending the All-Pro defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence. They signed him to a 4-year, $90 million extension that includes $60 million guaranteed. Willie Jack, I need you to hit Alexa up, dog.
Man, Lexa, cue the King Dolph, get paid. Get paid, get paid.
Facts.
We say 4 for 90, 60 guaranteed.
90 million, 60 guaranteed. This deal makes Lawrence the third highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL right now, only behind Aaron Donald and Jeffrey Simmons, man. So go get your bag, Dexter Lawrence, man. Go get your bag. Willie Jack, how you feel about this signing, man?
No, well deserved, man. Well deserved for sure. Had an outstanding year last year, so was played at an All Pro level. I can't remember if he got All Pro recognition like on the second team or something like that. I think the first team was Chris Jones and so I can't. Was it Chris Jones and Quentin Williams maybe? But he played at an All Pro style level, so
Yeah,
I don't know if he got first or second team, but he was definitely at that level. And yeah, man, just really the heart of that defense really took over and dominated in that playoff game against the Vikings. And so like was really like a key factor, just completely just took over that game like in the crucial moments, man, against that Vikings offensive line. So no, very, very good player, very dominant player. So happy to see all the players get paid, man. Y'all know what's going on with us, man. We want to see all the players get paid for sure anyway. And so yeah, one of these guys goes out there and catches a big bag, man. Well deserved, love to see it. Y'all know what's going on, man. Bag alert, love to see it, all that good stuff.
For sure, man. And when it comes to defensive tackles, man, they go a long way in terms of controlling the line of scrimmage and controlling what an offense, what they can and what they can't do, any given moment. So I definitely am with this signing. I think it's a great signing, especially with what the Giants are trying to do. They're trying to build, around a lot of these young players and trying to add more pieces. So, hey, it's looking real. It's looking like they're making a push. If anything, they're not gonna go down without a fight. They're gonna go down swinging for sure. So that's what it looks like the Giants are doing. Willie Jack, man, who we got in the building, man? You want to give a couple shout outs, dog?
Yeah, man. OJ Dubs in the building, man. What's going on, OJ? The Juice, what's up, man? He said, what's up, fellas, man? So, hey, we appreciate you coming in and tapping in, man. You know what's going on. But yeah, y'all holler at us in the chat for sure so we can shout you out.
For sure. So if y'all heard it, man, if y'all in here, go ahead and tap in now, man. Tap in with your boys. Let us know you in here. Like we always say, man, tap in. Talk to us. We like to talk back. All right. But Willie Jack, man, that's the news that I have today. So without further ado, man, it ain't gonna take us too long, before we jumping right into this top 10 power rankings each one of us got. Unless you got something else you want to throw out there on the table, what you thinking?
Well, and I just thought about this, and I don't know. I don't know if it has much
Hey man,
legs or
call it on air.
anything.
What you got? Call it on air. We
But
on air. Go ahead, do what you gotta do. We
But
got
no,
it.
what I was gonna say, man, like they say my Steelers now. They say my Steelers has been talking pretty heavy with JJ, man, about big JJ. Try to see if he how retirement suiting him, man. He might be already tired of sitting on his couch, man. One last chance to come play with his brother. I mean, I don't know, man. They say we've been talking to him a little bit, man. He's even supposed to come take a visit to the facility and see what's going on, see what everything look like, man. So like I say, I ain't too much smoke on that just yet. I mean, it's just this is in I guess in the Steeler community, this is our our local news, man.
Well, I'll say this. He said this is our local news.
It's our local news, it's still a
Well,
nation.
since you broke it, let's say that if there's one guy that I know that would love this move, it's my dog Willie Jack. Willie Jack has been a huge fan of JJ Watt since since he first started getting off.
JJ one of the goats, man.
Since once he first started doing it. So he's definitely one of
JJ is an all-time starting defensive lineman. You get to pick 4. JJ's one of them 4, man. You can argue with your mama.
See, yeah, there you go. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. Y'all see how high he holds JJ Watt on that totem pole. But here's the thing, though, Willie Jack. I would actually love to see that. JJ Watt, to me, watching him this past season with Arizona, showed that he still got some good ball left in him. When he was going through all those injuries, there was a stretch where it was like JJ Watt is low key taking over some of these games. And this was no Kyler Murray. So they were playing with the backup quarterback. The season was over essentially, but JJ Watt was still out there doing his thing, and you've seen him just about everywhere on the defensive line. So if anything, if he was able to play with you guys, TJ Watt usually doesn't move around as much. TJ Watt usually sticks to his side. But between, TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, JJ Watt can pretty much play anywhere on that defensive line. And I don't know if they would. I don't think you would want to just leave him on the other side and just let him work off of that side. But that would be a sight to see. I would love to see that defensive line and work and seeing them, get out the quarterbacks and all the different things that they could possibly do, man. I would love to see that.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, man, like I said, I mean, if he came back, unless he's going mid-season, somebody's like in the obvious championship window, you know what I mean? Like if he waits until second half of the season and comes back and jumps on, the Bills or jumps on the, something like outside of something like that. If he wants to come back and play football and wants to, play a full season, it's got to be us. I don't see where else he would go.
Oh, well,
and so,
well, that's yet to be seen, and of course, I'll be looking out for it. I would love to see it. Brothers playing with brothers, man, and hey, we'll see how they get down for sure.
And you know what? And quietly, this was blah. This way, I want to say quietly, he had like 12, 13 sacks last year, or maybe not that many. Maybe it was like 10, 11. So he had more than 10 sacks last year as well, if I'm not mistaken. Like he quietly was productive, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah, well, either way, like I said, I remember a stretch for sure where he was playing some good ball. Whether he got double-digit sacks or not, and yes, he did. He ended up with 12 and a half. So,
oh hell yeah,
12 and a half sacks, man.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. JJ Watt had a Pro Bowl year where he didn't have 12 and a half sacks. That boy was balling last year. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, and that goes to show you too, and anybody else that watches, when you're not winning, your team doesn't get that much recognition, man. And guys, some guys fall through the cracks. You know what I'm saying? Because, like we said, JJ Watt was playing some good ball, man. Definitely playing some good ball. All right, Willie Jack. Without further ado, man, we're going to go ahead and jump into this list, man. I know we got a lot of explanations to do. I know me and you probably going to end up going back and forth again, and I'm going to have to talk to you and talk some sense into you. But without further ado, I think it's about time we go ahead and jump into this list, man. So I'm going to start out with you. You give me your 10. I'm going to go 10-9. You go 9-8. You know how we usually do, Willie Jack. You know how I go. So start me off with your number 10 team. Who is the number 10 team, the 10th ranked team in the NFL right now as we speak before the season even starts? Who you got?
Now, of course, you'll know I've got like 5 teams that could be 9 and 10. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
I do. But right now, I've got 2 listed at 10 right now, even still.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, I'm gonna go Jacksonville. I'm gonna go Jacksonville number 10.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
And I'm gonna tell you why. And so I looked at it 2 ways. And so I looked at just how talented is your team or your roster overall, and then I also looked at it like what do I expect you to do this season? And so I think Jacksonville's got a real good blend of they've got decent young talent. So you've got Trevor Lawrence, young high shot quarterback, of course, really kind of stepped into his own second half of the season. Had a very impressive second half in that playoff game. They come all the way back and beat the Chargers, and so he looks to be ascending with Doug Peterson. And just that young nucleus of plays they've got. They've got Calvin Ridley, who's looking to come back in, and I'm sure he's more than motivated to get a lot of the dirt off his name. And he's probably, and I know he's probably eager to play as well. And so you've got a young good core there. And then more importantly though, they're just as liable as not to sweep that division. I think that division is pretty much sewn up. I don't know how much run they'll realistically get from the Colts. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I just don't know how much pursuit they get there. And then as far as the Texans and the Titans go, I think the Texans and the Titans are both bottom 5 teams in the league this year, if you're asking me personally. And so, or like where they're going to wind up. And so I think the Jaguars run away with this division and likely, like I said, may go 6-0 in it. And so kind of combination of the roster upside, and then also like what realistically, what are you going to likely do this year going in, or at least at this point. So I went the Jaguars at 10.
Okay, Willie Jack, and I'm not mad at that one, man. And you know what? They were one of the teams in the mix, for my 10 spot too. I went ahead and put them at 11 on my list. They just missed
it.
They just missed this list. I had so many teams in this spot too, Willie Jack. So when you said that, I completely understood where you was coming from. The thing with the Jaguars for me was I still felt like they had a few too many question marks. Okay. One, does Trevor Lawrence pick up where he left off, from the second half of the season last year? I expect him to, and definitely wouldn't be surprised if he does. That'll for sure be a good thing for this team because when you got a good quarterback and a quarterback that's playing pretty well, that takes you a long way. Does this defense take a step forward? You know what I mean? They were the 28th ranked pass defense last year. You know what I'm saying? And even though they had some good showings, I still don't know if they have as much promise. We talked about this before, Willie Jack. Trayvon Walker being their first overall pick.
He's got to take a big step forward.
He's got to take that step forward. He got to step into that number 1 overall draft pick form in order for this team to truly step in and make a mark. So he's got to make a difference. You know what I'm saying? And then also you lose Marvin Jones, which is not huge, but you bring over Calvin Ridley. What does Calvin Ridley look like? You know what I'm saying? After a couple seasons out, you know what I'm saying, not playing football after a while. So does he come back and be that guy? Now, if all these things pan out, then, hey, Willie Jack, I'm with you all day long. They're definitely a top 10 team, but that's just one too many question marks for me in terms of if all those things pan out, because they're going to need those things to work out for this team to actually be, a legit contender in the AFC. So that's why they didn't quite make it. But 11 still gets you in the playoffs.
No, and honestly, I had two. I've got 2 teams in my spot for 10, so they were right there. 10 and 11 is where I had them as well. So because I had questions, those same questions you had, I had as well. But then that's why the deciding factor for me was that division. I think they walked through that division. If they lose more than one game in that division, then that should be a disappointment. Like they should. Maybe they split with the Colts is the one I'm really seeing. That's I think most likely. If the Texans split with them, still won at home, or you know what I mean, 4-2 at the absolute worst. But I think they're just as likely to go 6-0 in that division as they are 4-2. And that's what kind of gave them the edge for me.
Yeah, and I get that. Well, see, and I think when I did my list, it wasn't necessarily about what they're gonna finish with. And you're not necessarily saying. I'm not saying you saying.
Yeah, I use kind of a combination of a lot of things. Like I kind of looked at just the roster strength, and then I kind of try to do it kind of holistically.
I got you. I got you. All right. Well, let me go ahead and jump into my number 10. And before I jump into my number 10, I guess I'll explain the way I did my list. So I did my list based off of the roster, what it looks like, um, uh, coaching, not necessarily their well, definitely not their schedule or their opponents or the division, because I'm a firm believer in, yeah, your record might say one thing, but I don't necessarily believe that your record truly says how good you are. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna be a really good team in a really good division and be beating on each other. You know what I'm saying? But like you just said, you got the Jaguars in this division. They might come out their division 13-4. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. Whereas I'm in this tough division. I'm a better team than the Jaguars, but we just got beat up on because we got the Chiefs and whoever else in the division. So
No, and that's fair, and that's
yeah,
fair. But yeah, no, that's definitely fair.
yeah. So I didn't necessarily take that into consideration. But hey, forget it. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into it. And my number
Come
10,
on.
10 team, man. Hey, I'm jumping off the porch, man. The Detroit Lions, man. The Detroit Lions are my 10th ranked team starting it off, man. And here's the thing. We already talked about the draft, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I really love what this team did last year and the way that they kept their momentum going into this offseason, okay? So, first and foremost, I'm gonna start it off like this, man. I ain't playing around today. Jared Goff was a top 10 QB last year. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, that's easy. Come on,
Jared
man.
Goff was the top, but this is just for everybody else, just in case they forgot, because I seen the rankings of the QBs, you know, what I'm saying, the QB1s or whatever, and
Man, I'm still
it,
gonna redo that list.
it
I
was
know
it
we were
was
talking
it,
about. I'm still gonna redo that list for
it was
sure.
a little disrespect on my boy Jared Goff's name. You know what I'm saying? I saw some names on. I said I don't know if they was watching what I was watching, but I seen top 10 QB play last year from Jared Goff last season. And for my stat people, I'm gonna throw some stats out there for y'all, man. Sixth in passing yards, sixth in passing touchdowns, seventh in QB rating, and only threw 7 interceptions on the season, man. And it's not like like they leaned heavy on the run or anything. He was sixth in pass attempts. So
No,
they leaned on Jared Goff to win them games.
and
587 passes.
don't forget that offense was the number one offense in the league for like 13, 14 weeks. Like that offense so he led the top offense in the league for the majority of the season.
There you go. There you go. And then all they did was they went and boosted they did a little bit of a boost on the weapons that they have. They bring back Marvin Jones. Now, Marvin Jones is not like a huge difference maker, but when you talk about those go get it catches, the ones, up in the air, Marvin Jones has been doing that since he came in the league, and he continues to do that. That's a weapon or an asset. Of course, Jameson Wilson is suspended, but it's only going to be 6 games.
But no, that's what I was gonna say. Why that's so big? Because now, like that was gonna be they lost not just Jameson Williams, but they lost like 3 receivers. So just they receiver room as a whole is light. So that Marvin Harrison signing is even bigger than it would have been initially because they so light in that room now. So that's actually a bigger addition than it looks like on paper.
Absolutely. And then they follow it up, and then they go get Sam Laporta as to be a tight end to add as another weapon for Jared Goff.
Love that pick.
So that's another weapon. We already talked about them bringing over former Steelers cornerback Cam Sutton, brought over Eagles safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who led the league in interceptions and missed a few games last year. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different things that this Detroit Lions team did that I really love going into this 2023 season, where I feel like, hey, man, this could legit be a top 10 team. Dan Campbell is doing his thing over there. He's got this team up and got them rolling, and he's continuing to add. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? If it don't work out, they got their quarterback waiting in the wings, in a few years, so we can keep this train rolling. Dan Campbell is drafting for his career to be for the Detroit Lions forever. You know what I'm saying? So he's trying to set himself up, man. But like I said, they're in prime position to really take over this division, and that's why I got the Lions at this number 10 spot.
And let me tell you what's so funny about that. The Lions is who I end up just putting at 11. So my number 10 line says Detroit/Jacksonville. And I went Jacksonville right now last minute because of I think Jacksonville is going to have an easier time smoking their division than the Lions are. I still think the Lions are going to get more competition in their division from the Vikings than the Jaguars are going to get from anybody. And so that's kind of how I broke it down. But everything you just said, and then also you didn't even mention Jamar Gibbs, who we expect to be come in and be a dynamic weapon in the pass and run game. Then also you didn't mention Brian Branch, a guy who
Yep.
Going into the earlier parts, pre-combine, he was a consensus top 10 prospect in this overall draft. Brian Branch was, and was considered to be almost certainly a lock to go somewhere in the top 12 picks, almost consistently in the top 10. And so a guy who doesn't run or test as fast, doesn't run as fast, doesn't jump as high as probably people wanted him to, you get him all the way in the middle of the second round. He didn't even go top of the second round like we got Joey Porter. He languished in the second round. He was in the second round, and I started thinking to myself, if the Steelers make a trade and come get Brian Branch right now, we're going to the Super Bowl. Like I was surprised how long he lasted. So you didn't even mention his name. You know what I'm saying? And so there's a lot of stuff to like about that Lions team for sure. And like I said, them and the Jaguars were right there neck and neck for me at 10. But I think the Lions still have a tougher road ahead of them with the Vikings in their same division. Whereas I think the Jags, unless they beat themselves or do something foolish, they should just walk through their division and then really set themselves up to make a good push for a good seed.
For sure. Definitely with you there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, Detroit and the Jags. I definitely did.
That's how it work out sometimes. Sometimes it just work out that way, Willie Jack. That's how it work, man.
And I'm glad because I was definitely going to want to talk about them if one of them didn't make it. You know what I mean? I was definitely going to want to talk about them anyway. Like if it didn't make your list. So
no, we're gonna definitely do some honorable mentions, man. When we finish it up, we're gonna come back with some honorable mentions. But let me go ahead and jump into my number 9, Willie Jack. And my number 9, and here is the part of my list where I would say the next 3 spots can kind of fluctuate a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna go with Miami Dolphins, man. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins at my number 9 spot. Okay. And here's my thing there. One, we have a quarterback who was definitely nicked up a lot with injuries. This team started off hot.
Oh, he was more than nicked. Hold on now. You said nick like he sprained ankle.
The boy was banged up. Man. He was banged up off. His head was banged up. That's what was going on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. His head was banged up with injuries. He probably had about 3-4 concussions. I don't even remember how many he had.
Man, they counted 3. So who knows?
Well, yeah, who knows? We don't know what's going on. But either way, the boy had a concussion a lot of times this past season. Which of course caused him to be in and out of the lineup. The team had a lot of weapons. This was very explosive offense. I'm talking about a track team on offense. You know what I'm saying? Between Tyreek Hill, Waddle, and then Raheem Mostert. Those 3 guys alone, you know, you add them on your 4x1 team, you know, they putting you ahead. You know what I'm saying? So you throw in one more guy and they just rolling like that. But this was a very explosive offense last year that started out really hot. But because of those injuries, I think it threw off a little bit of their camaraderie, and threw off what they had going on so that they couldn't really continue to roll, you know, ride their rhythm like they started off with, you know. And then their defense, and I believe it was a certain part of their defense that was giving up too much. You know what I mean? Even going back to the Ravens game, they ended up winning this game, but the Ravens, that was like a 40-something to 40-something game, which turned out to be a shootout. Their defense was giving up a lot. Their defense wasn't stingy, you know what I'm saying, when it came to, you know, the pass game and certain aspects. Now they go and bring over Jalen Ramsey, which they got for cheap. You know what I'm saying? They bring him over and add him as another piece of their defense. They also go and get former Tennessee Titans running back David Long, who single-handedly, I never forget this, single-handedly beat the Los Angeles Rams by himself. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he damn sure did. He had like 15 tackles. Yeah. I remember the game you're talking about.
And had a pick 6 and all type of stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Single-handedly won the Miami Dolphins that game. Then they go add a few other pieces to add to this defense that can move them up a notch, you know, bump them up a notch. I still think they are very solid on the offensive end. I still think they got a lot of pieces on offense, and I still think, you know, they can be explosive and efficient on offense with Tua behind center, but I'm not sure if he can last a full season. With what we watched this past season, this game is not going to get softer. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to get any easier. You know what I'm saying? He's still going to go out there. He's going to take them hits. And if he has another season like last season, which of course we don't wish that on anybody, we hope not, you know, but if he does, then I think that screams trouble for this team, which is why I think they could potentially be higher on this list. But I felt comfortable putting them at the 9 spot, right in front of the Detroit Lions instead of some other spots on this list. So I got Miami Dolphins at my number 9.
No, and you know what? I looked at the Dolphins, but they didn't make my 10. I eliminated them from my 10 pretty quick. One of the things is that, for one, I don't trust him. So I don't trust Tua. Got to show me every week that he's gonna play on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna give Tua. Tua doesn't get credit for any game. If Tua plays, if the over under in Vegas for Tua playing games with 7.5, I take the under. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay.
that's where I think the safe money would be. So I can't trust Tua. And then now I do like the additions some of the additions they made in the draft. They added to that speed on that team with Devin Achane, the running back from Texas A&M. Okay. He's another like track athlete, plays running back, but he's a guy that's like a low 10-second 100-yard meter guy. And so they add some more speed there. And then Cam Smith, man. Cam Smith was a top 5 corner in the draft for me. I really liked Cam Smith's game, especially if he can come in and he's the perfect Robin or number 2 corner that I want on any team in the league. And so they get him in the second round. That secondary is now so stacked. Like you say, you talk about Jalen Ramsey. You already had Xavier Howard. You add Cam Smith. They already had Javon Holland out of Oregon. Been playing excellent ball at the safety combo nickel DB kind of position for the last like 3 years now. They nickel. I don't even know this kid where he came from, but the nickel they had last year was pretty solid. Like could do somebody. And so he was actually pretty solid. They bring over Bradley Chubb. And so now his second, I guess, full year in this on this defense. And then they also bring over Vic Fangio. And so if you're familiar with, I'm a big fan of Vic Fangio's defenses, especially historically or in the past. He was the guy behind Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman in that Niner defense. Christian Wilkins. So they've got a lot of potential there, especially like I said, they've got a lot of names there and everything you said. But they've got some of the most questions at the trigger position than any of these other teams that we would consider for the top spots. And so I like I said, I can't trust that Tua plays more than 7 games. I can't trust that he's going to be there Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? So, and that's why I decided to leave them out. And then also, I think they're the 3rd best team in that division because I still think they're behind the Bills. I still think they're behind, or I think they're behind. I don't want to say still. I think they're now behind the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers' Jets. You know what I'm saying? And so now, best case in my mind, they're already starting from the 3rd position in that division. And so all that stuff, the questions with Tua and where I think they stack up in that division, that's why I left them out my 10. They'd probably be somewhere closer to 12 to 15, I think.
Okay. Then let me know a little bit more about your list, man. Well, come on in. Come on with me. Come on with your man.
Number 9, man. And I'm not going to lie. I moved this team up and down this list just depending on, like I said, man, because it's the most polarizing figure in the NFL today at the quarterback position. I'm going Lamar Jackson's Baltimore Ravens at number 9. Okay. And so, and this is the thing about it. If he's healthy last year, it's a 12-win team. And it was a team that was one of the least talented teams. I mean, it was just as unexplosive, I guess, in the skill positions as it's ever been. And still, like I said, he starts that year on fire. I was calling him MVP Lamar for about the first 6 weeks before he started getting nicked up. Now, that's always a thing, him getting nicked up. And so everything I just said about Tua, a lot of it's going to be applicable here. But why I feel differently about Lamar is it's muscular injury and not like head injury, head trauma. It's muscle strains, ligament pulls. It's things like that. So these things are football related. You know what I mean? Your ankles and your shoulders, and these things are going to be, they're always, every play you can risk doing something to those. You know what I mean? So that everybody has that same risk that Lamar Jackson's injuries have shown us. Everybody has that risk. He's just been a guy that's been touched by him more than some more. Concussions is its own thing. You know what I mean? So I'll take ankle sprains or knee sprains before I want to get into the concussion stuff. So that's why I left him in. But it's there's no secret. Much the story about everything we've known about Lamar Jackson over his career. If he's on the field, and especially if he's on the field and he's healthy, he's dynamic. Doesn't matter. It doesn't too much matter who else is out there with him. And so he's got Mark Andrews. He's going to make a run game. So when J.K. Dobbins is there, they're dominant. When J.K. Dobbins is gone, Gus Edwards is dominant. When Gus Edwards, you know what I mean? So he makes the engine go. I like what they've done on defense as well. Now they were struggling in the secondary. They let Marcus Peters go. I do like the signing of Rock Ya-Sin because he is a press man corner specialist, and so he struggled doing anything else. But going in that system where they want to be aggressive, they want to play man. You've got another aggressive man corner, and Marlon Humphreys on the other side already. Kyle Hamilton, the safety from last year, who got thrown out of position, had to play nickel, and was if you look at PFF, one of the highest graded DBs in the league. In the short time that he actually played. Now he moves back to his traditional position at strong safety. Marcus Williams, the safety they got from the Saints. So I still like that defense. They've got questions at the pass rush position, but they've got young talent there. So you've got Owe Adafe, you've got David Ajabo, who missed his rookie season last year because he was injured with an ACL or MCL going into the draft or through that process. He got injured. They drafted him in the second round. He was going to be a first-round pass rusher out of Michigan. So now it's his second year, but it's officially his first year. And so you've still got him there in the wings as well. And so I still like a lot of the core pieces. And then Baltimore is one of those teams with a brand. You know what you're gonna get. You know what you're gonna get. You know what I mean? So you're gonna get hard smash mouth football. You know you're gonna get competitive to the last minute football. You know you're gonna get a team that's gonna find a way to be in it. They're never just gonna not show up to the dance. They're gonna be in the fight. You know what I'm saying? And so whether that's a team that goes 9-8, but they were in 6 of those wins to 6 of those losses to the last minute, or a team that the ball bounces their way and they do go 13-4 and really kind of re-announce themselves as a real legitimate Super Bowl team caliber team. So all that said, man, I've got to put the Ravens in there at 9 for me. Oh, real quick, man, our dog, terrible Texans, Tom Walker in the building. He said the Texans is the top 10 in the power ranking. This ain't the top 10 for
Hey, Tom, just stay tuned, bro. Later on, we doing worst teams in the NFL, so stay tuned. Your team might be on there, bro. Just stay tuned. Just stay locked in with us, bro. We might come across your team, dog.
Hey, we got some content for you too, bro.
Yeah, we might have some content for the Texans, man. We'll get there.
Yeah, man. So that's why I went, man. I went with Baltimore at 9.
Okay, I ain't mad at it, dog. I ain't mad at it. I will talk about the Ravens pretty soon. But go ahead, flip into your number 8, and then I'll come right back to you, man.
Okay. Now for me, 9, 10, 11, Baltimore, Detroit, Jacksonville, those 3 teams, I could have had any combination of those 2 at 9 and 10 for me. The next, then I've got like another tier where I've got 2 teams, and this is what gets on my nerves about it, because if they matched up head to head, I still wouldn't trust one of the one that I'm going to rank above the other one today. But for right now, on paper right now, Chop, right? On paper right now, man.
I think I might know who you're going, but go ahead.
I'm going San Francisco.
Oh.
Now let me explain why.
Oh, that's very surprising.
Yeah.
Okay, you gonna have to explain this, Willie Jack.
Yeah. Are you worried about it? You see, okay.
First off, you said they name wrong. First off, that's the first thing you did. Because it ain't the name the San Francisco 49ers. They the weird-off machine. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, the San Francisco. We're gonna see this year. We're gonna see this year they the weird-off machines.
You're right. You absolutely right. Come on with it.
And that's the thing, man. Like, it's just not too many times. Brock Purdy right now is still lightning in the bottle, man. And he's injured. Brock Purdy is lightning in the bottle, and he's not going to start this year. He's not going to be ready to start the season, and he was lightning in the bottle anyway. So there were already tremendous questions at the quarterback position, even if Brock Purdy is going to be healthy going into this next year. So now you're telling me that the day one starter is either going to be Trey Lance, who they're wearing the egg of Trey Lance on their face since making that trade up from 3 to 2 and giving Chicago, like I said, all those picks to move up one spot to take Trey Lance, and then for him to get beat out by a 7th round Mr. Irrelevant guy. So then you've got him. Then you sign Sam Darnold. So Trey Lance and Sam Darnold are the guys who are competing to start week 1. And then even if Brock Purdy's ready to go, you've got Mr. Irrelevant coming off one of the hottest 10-game stretches that probably we've seen in recent memory. But I just can't. That's a big part of it. Is that for me the question at the quarterback position. Also, the secondary I have questions as well. I love the front 7. I love the addition of Javon Hargrave lining up next to Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa. That defensive line, which was already pretty good, being buoyed just by Nick Bosa, and then with a spotty Eric Armstead. Now you come in and bring in one of the most dominant one-tech pass rushers over the last like 5-6 years in Javon Hargrave. And so that defensive line just got that much better. They still got one of the best middle linebackers in the game in Fred Warner. His sidekick, his Robin, is pretty solid as well. And Drake Kinlaw. You've got Chops Dog, Hui Fully, True,
Noah Hufunga. Don't worry about it.
Man, they got Hallelujah Fungia. Man, they've got him, man, an all-pro caliber safety, young guy in this league, man. They've got him back there, but the corners, the corners have me worried a little bit. Still, I don't like that group as a whole on the outside, and then also I don't like that offensive line, man. Outside of Trent Williams, you lose Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey, who by any means wasn't a premier guy on the right side, but was still a more than he was an above the line starter, and especially probably more so in the run game. But and for a team that wants to, get that zone run scheme running, so they can boot off of everything and kind of get that offense going. And so I think they have questions with the offensive line. I don't necessarily like that corner room. And honestly, man, I think they're gonna get real trouble, real smoke, man, from that team in the Northwest. You know what I mean? That team a little bit up the road. And so I think they've got some questions to answer. Now, the only thing about it is if Brock Purdy comes back and what we saw wasn't a flash in the pan and he's the truth, well then, hey man, that's a top 5 team in the league again. You know what I mean? If yes, you know what I mean. But at this point on paper, I don't know how much more room I can give him. Not just yet.
Okay. Well, Willie Jack, man, this shows how interesting our lists are going to be, man. This is going to show how interesting our list is going to be. I do kind of feel like it's I do kind of feel like it may have been too harsh of based off the losses and a couple of people that have be gone. Now I do understand that Brock Purdy part. You know what I'm saying? Feeling like understanding where he's going to be. Is he going to be ready for the season start? And if not, Sam Darnold, is it Trey Lance? Who is he going to be? You know what I'm saying? So I do understand that aspect of it. So we'll see how everything plays out. You know what I'm saying? And of course, I'm gonna talk about them as well, man. But I'm gonna go to my number 18, man. I'm gonna go to my number 18, and regardless of what it looks like on paper, I ain't gonna let my experience, tell me anything different, man. So my number 18 is the Dallas Cowboys, man. The Dallas Cowboys. Okay, now we know on paper this team been looking good for the last probably 8 years. On paper, this been looking like
these are the on paper champions.
On paper champions for sure. Maybe with the exception of last year with the Eagles on paper, the Cowboys been on paper the best team in the league.
More times than not, they're in consideration.
But if you can win championships off paper, the Cowboys be done won. I say by at least 6-7 championships in the last probably 10 to 15 years, dog.
Man, yeah,
on paper.
For sure.
On paper. You know what I'm saying?
And that's even dating back until the 2000s. You know what I'm saying? Like on paper, more times than not, you look at all the talent and say, what the hell is wrong with them?
Facts, man. So for me, man, I got the Cowboys here at this 8th spot. And it's for me, this team is what I would call the model of inconsistency. Okay. The one thing that I continue to say, and actually me and Willie Jack both continue to say about this team was that Dak can be the one to get them over the hump. It was gonna have to be Dak. It seemed like every loss that they had, especially during the later parts of the season, came down to a Dak Prescott turnover. You know what I'm saying? Even with going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars and who they were doing everything that they can to fight to get their way in the playoffs. They lost down the stretch last year. Even in the playoffs, after they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they end up losing to I believe it was the 49ers. Coming up short to the 49ers in the playoffs. So that was another one. We know what this defense can do and what some of the offensive weapons can do. But what can Dak do? You know what I'm saying? This defense was good last year. You know what I'm saying? This defense was really solid. They were good the year before that. You know what I'm saying? They've had weapons for the last five years, going back to when they still had Amari Cooper and those type of guys. But the thing is, Dak, can you get him over the top? And I'm not 100% sure that he can. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to it, Chop been telling y'all for a long time. Dak needs that man beater, man. That guy that can line up and he gonna get open. He can make it an easy throw for you. And The minute he lost them, the minute he led the league in interceptions. You know what I'm saying? So Dak is definitely gonna have to fix those issues. Now, as far as the thing I do like, because they are still a top 10 team in my league, or top 10 team in the league, and I do got my number 8 spot. The Jonathan Hankins move, at defensive tackle coming over from Washington. This is a all-pro caliber player they brought in, you know what I'm saying, to add to the
Whoa. All pro. That's now the all pro, man. I don't know about all pro caliber.
He's not all-pro caliber.
Pro Bowl caliber.
He's not all-pro. He's got
hell no, man. Chris Jones, Aaron Donald, Justin Simmons, Dexter Lawrence, Quentin Williams. You know, you can only be so many guys at the top.
Hold on, Quentin Williams and Dexter Lawrence just got there. Jonathan Hankins was in that conversation before these guys.
Nah.
Dexter Lawrence. This was Dexter Lawrence's first all-pro caliber year. Quentin Williams, same thing.
Hold on, wait.
Jonathan Hankins.
But wait. But Jonathan Hankins hasn't been a top guy. He hadn't. I don't know if he's ever been a top guy, but then at his best was probably like 6 years ago. Like he ain't been in that conversation for a minute.
He's a great defensive tackle. How's that sound?
Man, that's a stretch.
That's
bro.
a stretch.
That's a great stretch.
I don't know about that one, Willie Jack.
He's one of those guys you say it's a solid depth piece for an older guy. He's like 32, 33 as well, maybe 34. You know what I mean? Like he's a one. He's a veteran presence for the locker room, man.
Veteran. Now that's going too far. That's going too far. Here's the thing. Anyway, what I was saying, adding Jonathan Hankins to this defensive line, for sure is an upgrade. I think it helps this defensive line out, especially with all the pieces that they have. Putting those pieces together, he is a piece that can definitely help out there. Also, you can't doubt this one. Adding Stephon Gilmore on the other side of Trayvon Diggs, an all-pro caliber cornerback. I'm okay to say that?
Wait, there you go. Yeah, that's what I was waiting on. How the hell we start talking about Jonathan Hankins before we get to Gilmore?
But I'm just letting you know the good moves that they made in this draft that can help out this team. You know what I'm saying?
Let me tell you how good that Hankins move was. They drafted Mozzie Smith to replace him in the first round. Come on, man.
There's not one tackle that plays on a defensive line, Willie Jack. What are you talking about?
Jonathan Hankins ain't I don't know if Jonathan Hankins is going to be on the field, man. No, he's going to be on the field, but I'm saying like he's going to rotate with the rookie, man. He's going to rotate with the rookie.
Here we go, man. Anyway, I still do like the Cowboys as a top 10 team. That's why I got them on number 8 spot. They got a lot of pieces around, a lot of talent. Of course, we can name the names all day long. You know, Michael Parsons and all those guys. Those guys play some good ball. But some of the pieces that they add definitely add more to this defense. It's just about Dak. What can Dak do? You know what I'm saying? What can Dak do? Man, we got our dog Scoop in the building, man. Shout out to Stink Prince, man. Shout out to Stink Prince. You know what I'm saying? He comes in. He's an Eagles/Rams fan. You know what I'm saying? And he comes in, he tells you, man, Eagles going back, you know what I'm saying, but for the win this year. So we'll see what happens there if the Eagles end up going back. Of course, I'm pretty sure the Eagles they made Willie Jack's list, so we're probably gonna talk about them. You know, as we get a little bit further into the show. So we're gonna jump into that. But shout out Stink Prince, man, with my dog Dave in here, man.
For sure.
Yeah. So come on with it, Willie Jack. Oh, is it? Oh, I gotta go 7. No. I think I gotta go 7. I do 8-7. My bad.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
All right. So let's keep shaking this board up, Willie Jack. Let's keep shaking the board up. So my next team at number 7, I'm going Los Angeles Chargers, baby. I'm going Los Angeles Chargers at this number 7 spot. And here's why, okay? As much as we criticize the Chargers after that meltdown in the playoffs last year, they still finished the season with the 4th best record in the AFC, only behind the Super Bowl winning Chiefs, the Bills, and the Bengals. You know what I'm saying? Those are the only 3 teams that have better records than them. But then once you break it down and look at and see how everything happened. Well, first and foremost, Justin Herbert is still a good QB, and now can operate under the former Cowboys offensive coordinator. What's my guy name that came over from the Cowboys, Willie Jack?
And now that you just asked me, it's like you just pushed it out my mind. Kellen Moore.
There we go. So now the Los Angeles Chargers, they get rid of their former offensive coordinator. They bring over Kellen Moore to help switch this offense around to see if Justin Herbert can really flourish under his regime. Now, like I said, they were already a good offense, but for them, it was more so about can they stay healthy or not? Okay. Both Mike Williams and Keenan, I'm gonna break these injuries down to you, right? Both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both were in and out of the games, okay, in and out of the lineup throughout the season. Herbert, I don't know if you remember, I think it was a Monday night game. Herbert suffered a battled a rib injury for a few games after a tough hit that he took. They lost J.C. Jackson and Joey Bosa. Both of them only played 5 games last season. It was J.C. brought up J.C. Jackson from the Patriots. Now he didn't start off the season too hot, but I would imagine that he would have been a lot better than whoever they had out there on the field. Of course. And
I'm not so sure, bro. Them 5 games with JC was pretty ugly. I'm not so sure.
I hear you, but I feel like J.C. Jackson, I think, would have still been play a little bit better and been an upgrade as the season went along. You know, Joey Bosa, we know what he's capable of. They lost Rashawn Slater, your boy, out for the entire season. So with all of those things that happened, this team, like I said, was still the 4th best team in the AFC record-wise. Now, of course, seeding wise, they weren't the 4th seed because they were not the first team in their division. The Jacksonville Jaguars were that, but they still had a better record than the Jacksonville Jaguars. So to think all these guys coming back and are going to be healthy as the season starts. Of course, they still got Khalil Mack. Now he's aging a little bit. He's not the same Khalil Mack, but he's still Khalil Mack out there. They bring over a former linebacker from the Vikings, Eric Kendricks, to help out in this linebacker room. And then they draft Quentin Johnston. Now, me and Willie Jack both weren't super fans of Quentin Johnston when we was going to this draft, but he still is another weapon. You know what I'm saying? He takes a little pressure off, in my opinion, takes a little bit of pressure off Keenan Allen from having to do as much as he had to do. Maybe he can just sit down and be a slot guy now. You know what I'm saying? And be that guy that goes in.
Slot guy.
Well, he's played outside too, and that's what I'm saying. Like he's played outside, he's played just about everywhere. That's what he does.
Man, but 90% of his snaps in the slot for sure.
No, Willie Jack. They were 90% went in the slot. I'm telling you.
85.
I'm telling you, bro.
They don't go because you got to remember, like most teams are in a 3 receiver set is your base offense now. Like, he's inside, bro.
You know who one of their third receivers was? They kind of moved him around.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The third guy was Jordan Palmer, not Jordan Palmer.
Palmer was one, but then DeAndre Carter too.
Yeah, you know Palmer and Carter, but yeah, both those guys were outside guys. But no, go ahead.
But either way, it takes more off of his plate. You know what I'm saying, and allows them to spread the ball out a little bit more. And I think that this is going to work well for this particular offense. You know what I'm saying? Quentin Johnston, we know he's going to be an outside guy. And when you just have Kenny Allen strictly on the inside, not having to, really push down the field, they was throwing him deep balls last year. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like with this move and with what this team is capable of when fully healthy, I think that this Chargers team can be one of the better teams in the league. Now, this team will also go as far as Justin Herbert will take him. You know what I'm saying? So as good as Justin Herbert can be, or as much talent as he has, this team really rides on his back. So if Justin Herbert comes in and he lights it up and he's the quarterback that everybody thinks he can be, Justin Herbert will for sure be one of those. I mean, this Chargers team can for sure be could potentially push for a top 5 team. So
no,
we got the Chargers at the 7th spot.
No, and to that point, man, our dog Scoop, man, David Tober, he said Herbert's got to take him over the top. If he doesn't get it done this year with a deep playoff run, he's out of the top quarterback talk. Now, that's still a pretty strong statement, man, because talent for talent. I just don't know that type of size, arm strength, and still athleticism. He doesn't tap into the athleticism. I don't know if you can just knock him out. I don't know if you can go that hard on him. And then he also says that Josh Allen's cutting it close as well. He's giving Josh 2 more years to put up his will and get himself a ring. And so, what you think about that, man? As far as what he's saying, now I don't know, man. I don't know if it'd be hard to put Herbert too far down the top quarterback list, man. It still would be hard to put him too far down. Like, if he said he's taking him out, like, I assume he's saying he's taking him out of, let's say, like top 5 conversation.
Yeah. So I feel like he's always gonna have that talent. You know what I'm saying? And he's still very, very young. We just watched, and we just got on talking about it. We just watched Jared Goff have his first top 10 season, like legit top 10 seat. Well, no, I think the year.
No, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I'm about to say because
it was one other year he had. But I'm talking about. I think we saw Jared Goff, to me, QB playing the QB position, IQ level, decision making. I feel like this was the best year I've ever seen Jared Goff have. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like lightning in the bottle. I don't think this was lightning in the bottle where Sean McVay is coming in fresh. They got a fresh Todd Gurley, a fresh offensive mind and everything coming in, new and clean. And he's coming up and lighting up the league and catching everybody off guard. Nah, he played this year very well. So I feel like QBs can blossom a little bit later, especially with them playing about 15 years now. They play a long time in the league. So this is what Justin Herbert's maybe fourth year in the league, fourth or fifth year.
I think it's going into his fifth year because him and Joe Burrow are due to get big contracts next year.
Yeah, so he's still a very good QB. He has a lot of good talent. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't write him off just after this year because he's still, like I said, you ain't just finding that nowhere.
Get your boy Tom, man. Tom said Herbert is a great value CJ Stroud.
I mean, that's that Texas talking, man. That's that Houston, Texas talk. I don't know what my boy talking about, man. So I wouldn't necessarily write him off either, but I do think he needs to play. Yeah. He definitely got to take a step. He has another level.
There's no question, man. He's well done at this point. Like, it's time for him to come out the oven. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you going to be, like I said, kind of like to Scoop's point, our dog Dave, are you going to be a guy that really takes that next step and really consistently push your name in the mix with, cool Joe Burrow, you know what I'm saying, Patty Cakes, and those guys? Are you going to step into that class, or are you just going to sit there and stay, like I said, man, sit in the back of the bus, man, and just be comfortable being kind of in that right there borderline great kind of type of guy? But no, I didn't have the Chargers. The Chargers were another team that just missed mine. They're closer to the top 15 than the top 10 for me. But it's because, again, kind of the theme of mine is like how much I trust your quarterback has a lot to do with me. Justin Herbert's another guy I can't trust. You know what I'm saying? And so typical Justin Herbert, and it's a joke, and we even talked about it last year. But that playoff game last year against the Jaguars, where you're up 3 touchdowns at the end of the third quarter. Like, that is a microcosm of Justin Herbert's career, or Justin Herbert, the player to this point, in my eyes. You see all the greatness. You see the potential dominance. You see what it looks like. Oh, man, we can run it up. Damn. What? Why ain't just go ahead and just stop playing around and beat Patty Mahomes, Justin Herbert? Beat Justin Mahomes. You know what I mean? That type of talent. You see, like, a talent that's as elite or as great as just about anybody in the league. And then when it's time to really step in there, step on somebody's throat, put the nail in the coffin, make the play, close it out, win the game when you're up 3 touchdowns, you crumble. You crumble. You don't show up for another quarter, and you don't cross 50-yard line. You don't cross midfield.
Really, I'm gonna stop you, bro, because you about to get him again. You've been getting him since the end of last season, so I'm gonna stop you, bro.
But that's the thing. So I still have, like, he's got to show me, kind of like what Dave was saying. He's got to show me that he can that I can put my eggs in his basket. You know what I'm saying? I can't put all the eggs in his basket. He can get me so far, but then he's gonna drop. He's gonna drop my basket, and I don't like it. And so that's why he missed my 10. But it makes sense though. I meant to mention this when I thought about it. My number 17 is your number 18. That's where I have the Cowboys. And so I'll go real quick because thankfully you talked about Jonathan Hankins, so you let me talk about everybody else. I like the Cowboys as well. But to me, that Stephon Gilmore signing is huge. Trayvon Diggs took a massive step forward last year, I think, as far as his snap-to-snap consistency. And so the high-level players weren't there. He didn't go for 11 picks. You know what I mean? And there's not too many seasons that you don't have to go to 11 picks to qualify as a good season or not. But the picks came down a little bit, more down to the realm of, reasonable. I think he still finished somewhere around, four picks, 4 interceptions. I want to say somewhere around in there. But his snap-to-snap play was way more consistent, and he was just a better overall player. And I think he's really kind of and he's really kind of he's really like established himself in my eyes as a cornerstone piece of that defense. And so there was a time there where it was looking like it wasn't sure. Then he has the big year interception wise, but there's still so much knocked against his game. And then so I think he's really kind of established himself as like, no, he's the guy who's here, he's improvement, and he's going to be a cornerstone player at the position. So love that there. Then you bring in Stephon Gilmore, former defensive player of the year, played damn good ball last year for the Colts. Gilly was excellent last year. And so you bring him in now, and now he's a mentor to Trayvon Diggs, who's still growing and still getting so much better now, and he still gives you good ball. And now also he's got a rush in front of him. Coach couldn't sniff quarterbacks last year. Well, now you got Michael Parsons, who's giving quarterbacks hell every Sunday. You know what I mean? So that only makes that job easier. The addition, I wasn't as high on Mozzie Smith, but I do see for what they're going for, what they need in the middle of that defense. The pick makes sense, and I think the way they're going to use him and try to help to keep him fresh. That was a lot of the issues I had with him on his film, was that he can only give me 2 snaps out of every 8 because he blows it out those first 2 snaps and looks as dominant as anyone. Then for 6, you can push him anywhere you want to on the field. And so now that he's going to be rotating, etc., playing around a bunch of other guys as well. So I like that. I really like the addition of Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is the most just what's unheralded, or what's the right word I'm looking for, man? Just the most thankless quality receiver in the league is Brandon Cooks for the last 8 years. He's going into his 8th year. If he gets 1,000 yards this year, it'd be like 8 years in a row. I think he's going to break the record or tie the record that he had with Mike Evans. He's right there in the mix with Mike Evans as far as consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. But I do like how he's going to fit in with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee, who definitely stays in the slot, but there's just nothing else to take any attention from him. So Brandon Cooks, while he's not going to necessarily torch anyone, but he's good enough to keep defenses a little more honest, so you can't necessarily just completely just throw everything at CeeDee Lamb like defenses were able to do a lot of the time last year. And then you already know, man, my dog TP, man, should be sitting in the lead chairs in the backs this year when he gets back from injury. So hope he's healthy. And so, but like I said, the Brandon Cooks and the Stephon Gilmore additions, man, I really like them. And that's why I had them right above the Niners, because that quarterback room in the Niners, I mean, Dak isn't great necessarily, but I know what he is. And so there's consistency in me knowing what Dak is. You know what I'm saying? But I just don't know at all what I'm going to get from any quarterback that puts a Niners jersey on this season. And so that's why I put them right above the Niners. But getting into my number 6, this is where 5 and 6 for me are just like 7 and 8, where they can go back and forth. All right, right now, this is where I've got A. Ryan's New York Football Jets.
Okay.
At number 6. And so obvious elephant in the room, of course, is the addition of Aaron Rodgers himself. But also, I see a team that...
And don't forget Allen Lazard. That was a big signing.
Oh, yeah, no. Allen Lazard's going to do what I need him to do. Allen Lazard's going to do... I tell you what, man, I'm so thankful that Corey Davis is no longer in the starting lineup. I tell you that much. But this is a team that was on the press. Like, they could have been if they had a quarterback, they were a team that could have threatened a real, like, dark horse run to the AFC Championship game. You know what I mean? So, like, they were a team that could have been one of those teams that comes from nowhere. You know what I mean? Comes from a 6 seed or the bottom of the thing, and they really have the type of team that could travel. A very good defense, led, of course, by the young Ricky Phenom and Sauce Gardner. Quentin Williams has another excellent year as well in the middle of that defense as well. And then the offense just struggled mightily, and even still up until the last week of the season. If they beat the Dolphins in a game they had to lead in, a very low scoring game, if they'd have won that game, my Steelers would have went to the playoffs. Because I think the Jets had messed up another tiebreaker. I don't know. A borderline playoff team last year that dropped probably 4 games on the strength of they just didn't have anybody that could play quarterback. And that probably cost them at least 2 wins for sure. But I'm thinking maybe two more wins throughout the season if they had quality quarterback play. And so I think Aaron Rodgers is the difference there. I do like the addition of Allen Lazard. You're hoping to get Breece Hall back healthy. They still have questions at the tackle position with Mekhi Becton. You bring over an older Dwayne Brown to play left tackle. But I love the addition of Will McDonald. Will McDonald, for me, is my early favorite for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think Will McDonald has a chance to be a 12 sack guy right out the box. Like, I think he can give me 12, 13 sacks and be in range to threaten the rookie sack record set by, I think, Javon Kearse's got the rookie sack record, if I remember right, and it's like 14 and a half. Either Javon Kearse or, I think it was Javon Kearse, like 14 and a half, or Alden Smith got close to like 14. I think he can get that type of production, especially in that defense where you've got such good secondary play. You've got Quentin Williams already right there in the middle. And so now you get him out there in that wide nine, in that Robert Salah defense, that defense that we know came from San Francisco, and the way they use the way I envision they're going to use Will McDonald is the way that Nick Bosa's used, where he gets to go wide nine, pin his ears back, and really just tee off on quarterbacks for 60 snaps. And so that's how I think they'll use him. I think he's going to be very productive doing that. And so that's where I've got Aaron Rodgers in his Jets, man, at 6.
All right. Now let me tell you why they didn't make my list. Okay, let me tell you why. All right, and don't get me wrong, the Jets are right there. I think there was another team that was in the conversation to possibly make my top 10. They didn't quite make it because they were a team I just feel like I needed to see it first. I'm not 100% sold that Aaron Rodgers coming over makes this team all right, Mark said go type team. Like, all right, we ready to go now. You know what I mean? I do. Of course, we've said it a few times. Like this team was missing a QB, but at the same time, as I really started to think about it, Aaron Rodgers is coming from a team with a very solid defense. Now, it's not everything is not equal, over there, but he's coming from a team with a very solid defense. You know what I'm saying? He had a Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon over there with him. You know what I'm saying? He had now the only thing he was missing was a Garrett Wilson. He was missing his Garrett Wilson, or I wouldn't say Devontae Adams because I don't think any of the receivers that he has on his team now is a Devontae Adams. You know what I'm saying? Neither one of those guys, I'm pretty sure to this point, I'm pretty sure Willie Jack, you would agree that neither one of those guys is a Devontae Adams. So
hell no.
With him coming over to the Jets, I'm not 100% sure that this team isn't similar to the Green Bay Packers team from this past season. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Is it a team where they come in and get 10 wins? You know what I'm saying? I can definitely see them come in and get 10 wins, being a 10-7 team, maybe 11-6 type team. But I don't know if I would necessarily call that on my list a top. If they look that way, I don't necessarily think I would call them a top 10 on my list. They could very well make the playoffs, and I expect them to make the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? That they were 7-10 last year. Aaron Rodgers should easily come over and give them 3 extra wins for sure. You know what I'm saying? And if they get any more on top of that, that's icing on the cake, or or if he makes this offense just that much more explosive, then yeah, we're talking about all right, a legit team. But with the weapons that they have, I'm just not 100% sold that they're going to be, that legit of a team. It's a team I just got to see it first. So that's why they didn't quite make it, but they're right there in the mix though. They're in that top 12 range for me.
I can't believe you got more faith in the Dolphins than you do the Jets. I can't see that at all. I've got to put more faith in AA Ryan than I have in concussion too. I just can't. Like I said,
if we talking about if it was just about those players alone, then yeah, I'm with you on there. But the one thing the Miami Dolphins do have, you know what I'm saying, is those weapons on all those weapons on offense. I think I would take those weapons on the Miami's offense over the weapons from the New York Jets. And they do have Breece Hall, but Breece Hall is coming off an injury as well. That's another question mark. Everybody's not AP. I haven't seen anybody come back like AP off the ACL. You know what I'm saying? I don't think ever. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody definitely at AP. That's for sure.
Most people is usually their second year after their ACL injury where they come back and they're 100% ready to go. I mean, I'm not knocking him at all because he's still young. Young guys recover a lot faster. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I just want to see it.
No, I see what you're saying. But honestly, I don't even want to go too far as to say just weapons. About weapons, I mean Tyreek Hill. But for me, Garrett Wilson and Jalen Waddle are a lot closer for me than maybe they are for a lot of guys. Like I think I wasn't as high on Waddle coming out, and I was probably a little higher on Wilson coming out. And so for me, Tyreek is going to be the number one weapon, but I don't necessarily know if I just go blanket Miami's weapons on the whole versus the Jets, because I think I like the deeper group of Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, McCall Hardeman. You still do have Corey Davis. You've got old ass Randall Cobb in the room for whatever that's worth. You know what I mean? So I think that 5 is a better 5 than just a Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle at the top. And
but if you look at it just like that, I think
you know what I'm saying. I feel like that group better.
But in terms of like, I think having Tyreek Hill is a part of it, because having Tyreek Hill, as you said, that's a one of one. There's nobody in the.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
So having Garrett Wilson as a number 2 versus a him having to be your number one guy, I think makes a huge difference to that whole total room. So that's why I was saying, like,
No,
not player for player, but when you put it together on the field, I would take those weapons, and that's what I'm saying.
no, and see that, and then Dave just made my point as well. That's what I was gonna say. So like weapon for weapon, Tyreek is gonna be a top 3 weapon across the league. But I'm saying, I like the depth at receiver for Rodgers. I like the consistency of what I expect to get. Like more times than not, like if one of these guys was gonna, if one of these guys had to get the rent money for who's gonna play the season, who's gonna play 17 games, I'm giving that to Rodgers and the running back. Now Brees Hall is coming back off that injury, but it was early in the season when he suffered it. It wasn't toward the end. It wasn't in the end of the season. I don't believe. I think it was like week 6, or it was pretty early on. And so he's had even more time to more so come back and be ready, as opposed to, let's say, if it happens week 12 and where he's just getting to the point where he can really run on it right before training camp. So I think that extra time makes him bounce back. And then I'm taking Brees Hall handily over anybody in the running back room for the Dolphins. And then they just haven't shown that they can just run the ball. That Dolphins offensive line is still atrocious. You've got an older Teron Armstead who isn't the same guy. And then there's 4 other guys that could probably be. Now, their right guard, Robert Hunt, is solid. There's 4 guys on that line that can still be upgraded, because I'm going to include Teron Armstead. And so that Dolphins team makes me a lot more worried. I feel a lot more comfortable with Aaron and his bunch, man, just personally.
All right, well, that's on you, Willie Jack. Well, Dave in the comments letting you have it, Willie Jack. He in the comments letting you have it.
But I'm just saying the collective of guys they've got. You know what I'm saying? Like there's the collective of guys. So I'm saying like the greater. I'm saying Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, McCole Hardeman, Randall Cobb, Corey Davis, that group of 5 versus like just on the whole as far as the weapons. I'm not saying McCole Hardeman is going to do, I don't know, anything other than what McCole Hardeman's going to do, but just saying that collective. Like I said, anywho, it's on me to go to 5, right?
Did you, hold on. Let me see where I'm at.
Oh no, you on your 6.
No. I got to do 6. But before we do that, Willie Jack, we about halfway through the show. I know we're not halfway through the numbers yet, but I think it's about that time you talk to them and let them know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Let them know where we at. Let them know how they can find us. Let them know what to do, the rules we got when they step in, and then we gonna tune back to the show. So go ahead, bro.
Yeah, man. Today's episode, Let the Film Speak, hosted by the wonderfully handsome and intelligent brothers of Let the Film Speak. That's Chop and Willie Jack. Also brought to you by the OG, man. Y'all know what's going on, man. The 3 amigos, man. That's like, that's share, that's subscribe. That's a 3-piece spicy. That's 3 the hard way you cannot fail. Like, share, and subscribe. Now, say the same thing every week so y'all can say it with me at home. It's a 3-part process, but there's 4 steps, big dog. Step number 1, man. First, just tap in. Like, share, and subscribe, man. That just gets you in the dough. Then you got to tell a friend. Then you got to tell your friend to tell a friend. You got to tell your friend to tell one more, because we need 4. Bring them all down here, man. Come up to the penthouse. Kick it with your dogs, man. Chop it with your dog. Chop it Willies. Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. You know we ain't going nowhere. In there like swimwear every single go around, man. Also, man, special shout out to Stink Prince in the building as well, man, holding us down the strong way. We appreciate that, big dog. Shout out to Prospect and Precision Painting as well, holding us down from Atlanta, Georgia, man. Shout out to No Voices Podcast. Shout out to Real Deal SDL Sports and the rest of the gang. Y'all know what's going on. Now, without further ado, back to the regular scheduled programming. Let's go.
All right, Willie Jack. Now I'm going to my number 6, and then my number 6 spot is where I got the San Francisco Wild Machines. All right. Now, it's funny. I know I was messing with you, Willie Jack, but I think this is where that name kind of dies. Okay. Not because they're not going to be a good team. I still think they're going to be a hell of a team. I think, like, I got my number 6 spot. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the better teams in the NFL. But I don't think it's going to look exactly the same as it looked this past season. You know what I'm saying? I knew they was the Wild Machines, but the book is out now. You know what I'm saying? Everybody been watching the Let the Film Speak show, and I've been telling them before the boy ever took a start in the NFL that these was the Wild Machines, and the boy was going to rock out regardless. But now the league know. They should have listened to Chop the first time when Chop was telling them, but now the league know. You know what I'm saying? So they done seen it. They done seen a half a season full of it, so they know what to expect, man. So, like I said, the book is out on Brock Purdy. Now, everybody knows how this team is orchestrated. Now teams will have a full offseason, the game plan against this 49ers team, which is why I got them at the 6th spot and not higher. I also put this list together, or put this team here in this spot, banking that, you know, Brock Purdy is going to be ready to play once the season starts. Now, we don't know if that's going to happen. And, of course, that changes things for me if he's not ready to go when the season starts. On top of that, I think they take just a little small step back from how they looked at the end of last year. Okay. First and foremost, their draft this year, they didn't get a pick until the third round. You know what I'm saying? So it was essentially like they were just, fighting over the scraps, fighting over what was left from that third round on, trying to find some guys in the late round. Hopefully some guys, kind of pan out and bloom and step into some of those spots. On top of that, they end up losing the offensive tackle on Mike McGlinchey, and they also lost safety Jimmy Ward. Now they do have Deshaun Gibson kind of stepping in that spot for him, and we already talked about Talanoa Hufanga being that strong safety who will come in. He plays very well safety in that spot. But I think this team will look very good and will be amongst the better teams in the NFC, but a lot will be determined by the play of Purdy or Lance if he happens to play when the time comes. But overall, they still got Christian McCaffrey. They still got Debo, a dog. You know what I'm saying? Ayuk finally got his act together, and he looked to be a really, really good complement to the way his offense is orchestrated. Trent Williams is still over there, doing this thug dizzle, running through defensive tackles. Defensive linemen and linebackers and defensive backs. You know what I'm saying? So those guys are the heart and soul of this team, as well as Fred Warner and those guys on defense, Tariq Armstead, all those guys. And then we already talked about Javon Hargrave, that move being next to Tariq Armstead, and then Nick Bosa being there. So that team still is going to be all right. I'm not too worried about their corner situation because I didn't think their corner situation was that good last year either, but they found a way to get it done. When you got your defensive line getting after quarterbacks the way that they did all last year, that helps a lot for sure. So I think their defense is going to be just fine. They may not end up being number one, but I see them for sure being a top 5 defense. But this really is going to come down to is Brock Purdy going to be healthy? And if Brock Purdy is healthy, does he come in and play, the same way that he played this last year? Or, if Trey Lance plays, is Trey Lance a top 3 pick? Like you drafted him at. Does he turn out to be that? So those are the question marks that this team has. Like I said, they take a small step back, but with their core pieces, all those dogs they have, I still think they're a solid team, and they're going to be hard to beat for anybody, and I think they still run that division.
No, and yeah, we already talked about it because I had him at my 8 spot. Like I said, I'm not so confident, man, in Brock being ready to start. Then, like I said, even if he starts, man, until it's lightning in the bottle until we see otherwise, man. So that's why I couldn't trust it that much further. But no, like I said, definitely a good team. And like I said, if can't count Kyle Shanahan out. That's one thing, especially we know we can't do with that Niners bunch. Can't count them out at all. So not a bad selection at all. Like I said, the Niners were a team that they moved up and down my list pretty far as well. I think I had them, right around this mix at the highest, and I settled with them at 8.
Gotcha. All right, well, I'm going to come on back with my 5, man. And from a 5, you have this team on your list as well, Willie Jack, but I got them a little further up, man.
Oh, I think I know who it is now then.
You going to call them out for me, or you want me to say it? Baltimore Ravens, man. Baltimore Ravens at my number 5 spot. And here's why. Let me go ahead and break this down for you. The Ravens' chance of competing for a Super Bowl, I think, drastically went up this offseason with some of the moves that they made. And the first thing I start by talking about is last year, okay? For the first 8 weeks of the season, the Ravens gave up an average of 364 yards per game, okay? During the last 9 games, they gave up a total of 288 yards per game. You know what the difference was in that defense, Willie Jack? You probably can guess it.
Oh, man, hey, big Roquan. Big bad Roquan in that thing.
Roquan Smith turned this defense into the number 1 defense in the league the second half of that season last year. Their performance throughout, if they had Roquan Smith and they averaged that, and 9 games is a healthy amount for teams to only have 288 games. That's half a season. If they had Roquan Smith this entire season and they kept this up, they are the number 1 defense in the league, and we know how good that 49ers defense was. They were the number 1 defense in the league, and they were giving up only 300 yards a game. And this Baltimore Ravens team was giving up 288 ever since the addition of Roquan Smith. Okay, so we start there, right? That's an improvement. Of course, you're going to have a Lamar Jackson that's coming into the season healthy now. But let's talk about some of the weapons that they add around Lamar Jackson. Okay, we know what he means to this team. We know that he is the backbone of this particular team. But I think with some of the moves they made, I don't think he will necessarily have to carry the team as much as he's had to in the past. Okay, throughout the years, this team has not really gave him too much to work with. But I think they really have an opportunity this time. And sometimes things just don't work out. Dobbins now, I told you about the ACL injuries. He's now 2 years removed from the ACL injury. Dobbins was a what top 3 running back, top 2 running back coming out the draft with Jonathan Taylor. You know what I'm saying? Coming out of Ohio State, it was Jonathan Taylor, him, DeAndre Swift. All those guys came out together. I think he might have been a top 2 back. I think Jonathan Taylor
was top 2 back for me in that draft. Yeah.
Yeah, so Dobbins has a lot of talent. Now he's 2 years removed from the ACL injury. They're definitely going to ride him a lot. We know the Ravens like to run the ball a lot. We know what Odell Beckham can do. We've seen him, in the second half of the season with the Los Angeles Rams be a huge difference maker and be on his way to possibly getting an MVP award in that Super Bowl. Then you draft a guy like Zay Flowers, who I feel like is a great addition to this style of offense because, one, Lamar Jackson is not your traditional pocket passer. You know what I mean? Even in his MVP season, he only threw a total of 400 passes, which was ranked, that was 26th in the league as far as pass attempts. You know what I'm saying? Lamar Jackson ran the ball. You know what I'm saying? He still threw for 36 touchdowns. So he's not going to sit back there and pick you apart. So adding a guy like Zay Flowers, who is very dynamic in the ways that you can give him the ball, I think it just bodes well for this offense. And then having a healthy running back can help with the read option game and what he can do. We already know Mark Andrews is probably going to still be that number 1 guy, but adding a guy like Odell Beckham on one side, Zay Flowers is another weapon. I think Rashawn Bateman was still solid last year as a receiver. He's not a number 1, but adding the weapons around him, I think this is the perfect match for this Baltimore Ravens team. And if this defense can be that number 1 defense, for the second half of the season, if they can start that and keep that momentum going as they go into this season, we're talking about a Baltimore Ravens team that'll definitely compete for this division and could be very, very dangerous, come playoff time. So that's why I got the Baltimore Ravens, man, at my number 5 spot.
No, and that's not a bad place. Honestly, I know they settled in at 9. The copy I had right before this last one I went with, they were at 5. And then I dropped them all the way to 9. But there's a couple things. Lamar, I anticipate he's definitely going to start the season. Can he give me 17? So that's still a question. But then even bigger than that, can Odell give me 17? So I do like the addition. I'm glad to see that he finally does have legitimate weapons. And so I'm glad the deficit guys he got paid and now he's got real weapons. And so now that we've taken that crutch or that excuse away from him. It's not going to be no more if they didn't give me weapons. It's not going to be if no more this offense doesn't even let me play, doesn't even let me maximize myself as what I could be as a passer because they've got rid of the old coordinator. Now you bring in Todd Monken. So it's going to be a new offense. You've got all these new people, and the 2 biggest names in that offense, the 3 biggest names in that offense, all have major injury concerns. Lamar Jackson, Odell Beckham, and J.K. Dobbins. And so that's what still worries me there. Guys who are banged up and try to install a new system, how that's going to work in this first year. But everything else you said though is still holds very true, and so I understand there. But like I said, they went from 5 to 9 in my final copy, so I also had them in consideration pretty high.
Gotcha. Well, come on with it, Willie Jack. What you got? You on your 5 now, right?
Yeah, I'm on my 5.
All right.
Hold on real quick, man. Time out on the show, man. Hey, man, sis in a minute. She said, she said she feeling my 4K shit.
She feeling you, bro.
Hey,
you got the angles.
Hey, it's giving
big
real
dog.
ESPN guest analysis is. Yeah. I appreciate you, sis. Yeah, I appreciate you. You know that. For sure.
She getting the angles, bro. She got the angles for you.
But
You
so,
all
yeah,
good.
I told Chuck now, he better, the backdrop coming. I'm trying to tell you, I might be sitting here and it look like the Rockies behind me next week. He don't even know. He don't even know it. It might be, I might be sitting in the Grand Canyon next week, boy. Hey, I'm just trying to tell you something. But yeah, nah, man. My number 5 team. This is where I fell in and had my dog Big Josh, man. This is where I had Big Josh Buffalo Bills at number 5. And honestly, man, I'm worried about. I'm the biggest concern for me, or one of the biggest concerns for me for this team, man, was they got last year. They got a little stagnant, and I think definitely the difference between Brian Daboll being there and being that offensive coordinator, calling those plays and orchestrating that offense, versus him leaving and Ken Dorsey filling in and stepping into that offensive coordinator seat. And I think they stagnated early, and then they even looked to regress a little bit just as far as that offense and that scheme goes. There really was nothing done to kind of lighten the load on Josh Allen. It was more so like, hey, we've got Big Josh, let him sit back there and chuck it. And so I think Ken Dorsey, he's got to do something to progress in his role. He just tried to step in and just pick up Dayball's playbook and just tried to call the plays, but it doesn't have the same magic. So he's got to find a way to make this offense his own as well, instead of trying to call his plays thinking, well, what would Brian do? Like that's like how I felt a lot of times. Like I didn't see any type of actual like flow or scheme to the offense. We saw that in the playoff loss. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, just we can't adjust, or we can't do anything outside of just the things that we think we knew how to do from last year. And so that's worrisome for me. I think they still need they still need help on that offensive line as well. They drafted Osiris Torrance to come and play guard. I really wanted them to get a tackle. I really wanted DeWine Jones to have a Buffalo Bills jersey on so bad. But you get Osiris Torrance to compete at guard. Maybe he does come in at guard. I'm still a little worried there. Absolutely love the addition of Dalton Kincaid, though. I really do. He can be their impromptu number 3. So you've got Gabe Davis, who he didn't take the step forward last year that I expected, or that a lot of us expected. He didn't really step up full-fledged into that number 2 role like we thought he would across from Stephon Diggs. You still, of course, got Diggs. And then you've got there's a young guy there. I want to say from Boise State, Khalil Shakur. I want to say kind of a shifty route technician type of guy in the slot there. But I think more so than that guy being the 3, he's the 3rd receiver listed right now. But I think Dalton Kincaid is going to fulfill that 3rd receiver Knoxon role. And then, of course, you still got Dawson Knox there as well, who's a nice receiving threat as a tight end, who was a top 10 tight end in the league, if you ask me. Dawson Knox was this last year. So you still bring in Kincaid. You're hoping to get back a healthy Von Miller, but a Von Miller who's still another year older. He's still another year older, and he's coming off another injury. And so does he stay healthy? Assuming he does stay healthy, how close to the guy he was last year, these last 2 years, is he still? So there's questions there. You still got Matt Milano, but you lose Tremaine Edmonds, who played excellent there on the inside. The corner room is still Tre'Davious White hasn't really bounced back to be the player that he was, 2 or 3 years ago now before he got injured. So there's still some questions there. I think that team is not as good on paper as it has been, even going into this time last year. I feel like they were a better team and things were I think they were trending up. Whereas this year, I feel like they're treading water, and they need they've got to have a drastic improvement, or something drastic has got to happen where Big Josh is going to have to go to take another step forward as well, and just kind of overcome some of the deficiencies I think they have on this team. But still a very talented team at the most important position, and so that's why I've got them. They settled in at 5 for me.
Gotcha. And I got this team on mine too, Willie Jack, and I'll be talking about them pretty soon too. But go ahead and jump into number 4, and I'll come right back at you.
Number 4 for your dog, Big Geno, man. Big Geno Smith and his Seattle Super Seahawks are number 4 for me. Now let me explain why.
Hold on. I just gotta digest. I need a little second to digest this.
Go ahead, soak that in. Let that sizzle in your spirit.
I want you to say it one more time for everybody in the back, man, because I don't know if they heard you. I want to make sure you say this, man. Say this right. We're doing the NFL power rankings. Who is your number 4 team going into this 2023 season, Willie Jack? Say it one more time.
Big Geno, man. Big Geno, the big one. He ain't right back though, man. Big Geno. Cash me out, Geno, man. That's matter of fact, he's still Big Geno, but now instead of not right back, he wrote back, he cashed a check. Cash me out, Geno, man. Cash me out, Geno. Anytime somebody got something to say to Geno, man, hey, cash me out, man. Cash me out, man. 35 what? 35 million? Hey, Big Gino, man, that way, man. Big Gino's Super Seahawks. Now let me explain why.
Please explain.
Honestly, I love what they did in the draft, especially at top. I love the addition of Jackson Smith and Jigba into this offense. And so you've got Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, for me, he came in last year with Breece Hall. Kenneth Walker, for me, was my number one running back. I had Kenneth Walker rated above Breece Hall. And so you've got him who had superstar ability before he got injured and got banged up as well. Him and Breece Hall both had really announced themselves on the scene, and they both got injured. But I think he got injured earlier in the year. He came back. He was able to come back toward the end of the year, and then honestly was a big part of them finishing strong and actually making it to the playoffs. So you've got him coming back into his second year now. You've got, like I said, the addition of Jackson Smith and Jigba. Jackson Smith and Jigba, with me, he's 100 catches anywhere he goes. He just needs targets. He's going to give you 100 catches anywhere he goes. Like I said, so I really think that he's going to be a guy that's really going to – a lot of the problems they had in this offense was that offense could stall. And so if the running game isn't going, and especially when Kenneth Walker got hurt, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, at times they seem a little boom or bust, or they run a little hot and cold. Jackson Smith and Jigba is the guy that keeps those drives going. When you don't hit that deep over with DK, you know what I mean? When you don't hit that double move from Tyler Lockett, you know what I mean? Well, now instead of just stalling, or maybe Gino's trying to run and make something happen or scramble and keep it going, now you've got a guy that you can give the ball to at 8 yards right in front of the center, right in the middle of the offense, or right in the middle of the field for 8 yards, and he can turn around and get you 4 or 5 more. And now instead of 3rd and 12, now it's first and 10. Like, he keeps that offense going. I think he keeps them on time, and I think he really makes it hard for teams to really give too much. There's going to be a point where I think, as far as how Kenneth Walker's going to do, there's going to be a time where teams are going to want to give him eight man treatment. He's going to get full boxes, but it's going to be that much difficult to do that because you've got such a reliable and dependable guy in the slot like Jackson Smith, what I anticipate that he's going to be. You know what I mean? So that's the type of impact I really think he has on that offense, just really kind of keeping them on time and flowing and in motion. I also really like what they've got going on. I love the pick of Devon Witherspoon for that defense. Devon Witherspoon was one of my favorite 3 players in this whole entire draft. I love that pick. I love the pairing of him and Tyreek Woolen on the outside there. I'm still counting on Jamal Adams coming back and finally being healthy for the first time in 2 years. You know what I'm saying? So anticipate now he's healthy. And we're talking right now on paper. Right now on paper, I've got Devon Witherspoon, or Devin Witherspoon. I've got Tyreek Woolen. I've got Jamal Adams in that secondary right now on paper. I'll take it, Chop. I'll take it. You've got Bobby Wagner coming back home. He's not the guy he was 4 years ago. I'll take it, Chop. I'll still take it. He's still right there next to the young guy he was grooming before he left, in Jordan Brooks. I still like the young rotation of players they got on that defensive line. I want to see some of these guys more now. I was a very big fan of Boye Mafe last year's draft process. I expect this year he's going to be a more prominent part of that defense. And they bring over the guy they signed from the Broncos on that defensive line. I can't think of his name right now, but like 3 years, $54 million, $51 million. Draymond Jones, Darnell Taylor is another rotational guy, young guy as well. They've got young guys there that really haven't necessarily made their names yet, but they've built a nice little rotation there. Yeah. Is how I feel. And then also, like I said, man, with the Niners, I don't know what I'm going to get from that Niners team. So I think they're in position to jump and put themselves in a mix to really get scrappy and maybe steal that division from a Niners team who may take a half step back, and that may be all it takes, because I think the Seahawks are taking a full step forward. If the Seahawks take a half step back, they're right there in the door. And so I really think, man, and especially health is always going to be a big part of it. Jamal Adams and Kenneth Walker primarily, you know what I mean? I like what they did on the offensive line last year. They started 2 rookie tackles last year, and both those guys were probably top 20 at their position. And now they've got another year now getting more seasoned and stronger. I like I said, man, I really like where that Seahawks team is. I think their arrow's pointing up. I feel like the Bills are treading water. No, I'll take that back. If we're comparing from this time last year, the Bills are down. Their arrow's down right now for me, because last year I would have told you they were the 1, 2, or 3 team going into last season, and now this year they're at 5. I think the arrow on the Seahawks is pointing up, and so that's why I've got them at 4. Oh, my dog still said Legion of Boom Part 2. Hey, I tell you what, big dog. I tell you what, big dog. Devin Witherspoon, hey, one of the things I said about Devin Witherspoon when I was watching this film, and I think I made a video on TikTok, and I think I told Chop, that boy feels alleys like Earl Thomas. I said that. This is before the draft process. That boy feels alleys like Earl Thomas. He plays corner, though. He's not coming from 15 in the center. He's about 4 yards off the line of scrimmage, and I'm flying up, and I'm killing anything. Tunnel screens are dead. Smoke screens are dead. Bubbles, dead. You know what I'm saying? Your receiver drops a pass, and you pissed off, call a bubble to Devin Witherspoon side the next time. Head off. You know what I'm saying? Like that's who he is right there, right? And then also, if Jamal Adams can finally get on the field for me, man, headache game, concussion game, boy, they putting boys to sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Concussion game. Hey Willie, if they turn out to be what you say, man, we might have a new name for the Seattle Seahawks defense, man.
Come on now.
We might have a new name, man. The concussion game, man.
Man, I'm telling you, man. They got some boys over there who put boys to sleep. You know what I'm saying? And you still got OG Bobby Johnson. You still got OG Bobby Wagner right in the middle of that thing too. You know what I'm saying? He can't get sideline to sideline, but boy, box to box, he put somebody to sleep now. You know what I'm saying? So hey, there's a lot of pieces over there I still like, man. I think Pete heard everything we said, man. Let Russ cook. You can eat that shit if you want to. Yeah, y'all go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, cook over there. Go ahead, cook, Russ. Go ahead, big dog. Yeah, let me get Big Gino to come in here and do what I got to do, man. And so I really like how they quickly revamped that team. You know what I'm saying? Just in these last two drafts. I like last year's draft for the pieces they got, especially the pieces they hit. I like the name and the face value of this year's draft. Like this year's draft ain't gonna sneak up on me. Devin Witherspoon and Jackson Smith and Jigba is a phenomenal first-round pairing in any draft you have in any year. Those two guys in the first round is a steal in anybody's draft. And so, love what the Seahawks did.
I got you, Willie Jack. Well, I'm gonna tell you this, Willie Jack. Although I don't agree, and I'm not even gonna explain why I don't agree. I'm just gonna tell you I don't agree, but I do love your enthusiasm, and I love a good upset pick, a good off the wall pick, something that ain't on a regular path. You know, that ain't a part of what a lot of people gonna pick, man. So hey, I love that pick, man. I like that, man. And I see Dave in there talking, man. Yeah, well, I don't know if we can call him that, but
I know.
But at the same time, hey, they could be something dangerous for sure. Could be something dangerous. Go ahead, you gonna read the comment?
Yeah, and then he made a comment about Russ. He said, but on Russ, this is the first year without his mentor to help him change his life. He died before the season, and it had a huge impact on him. And you know what? I read that as well, and I forgot about that. And so I'm glad you did point that out because I did see that story on, I want to say like ESPN or maybe NFL Network, one of them that broke that story and talked about it. And so I'm glad you brought that up because I do remember seeing that post season and like I said, we'll see this year, like I said, how he, I guess we see how he bounces back or not. That he's had time to acclimate. Unfortunately, he was forced to acclimate this last year to see now what happens going forward. Because like I said, man, it was one thing to be bad last year. It was ugly last year. It wasn't even bad last year. I could deal with bad last year in new place first year. Guys got hurt. Jerry Jeudy didn't show up and be the guy y'all told me he was going to be 4 years ago when I told y'all that Justin Jefferson was that guy. I ain't going to bring it up, though. But all that stuff to be fair, now you got Sean Payton. And Sean Payton ain't got time for that. So
to be fair though, Willie Jack, nobody's seen Justin Jefferson doing this though. Sit up here and say you said he was gonna be better than Moss his first 3 years.
Well, no, I'm gonna say he was gonna be better than Moss. But he was the number one receiver in that draft, though, boy.
You did say that. I will give you that.
Yeah, man.
That. But what I'm gonna say, all I'm saying is, I don't think anybody saw Justin Jefferson being like this. Like that.
Look at this. Look at that. Bruh, Dave was a huge Jerry Jeudy guy that draft, man. We argued so long over Jerry Jeudy. I knew he was gonna do that.
Hey, look.
He was a huge Jeudy guy.
I can hear Dave saying this though. I can hear Dave saying this.
You know he did. You know he did.
That's funny, man. Let's keep going with the list, man. I think it's my turn, man. I think I'm up. And I think my number 4 team happens to be the Buffalo Bills, man. Buffalo Bills, they're my number 4 team for a lot of reasons that you said, man. And I think the last taste the taste we got in our mouth from the Bills in terms of what they put on the field was was it was a bad showing. You know what I'm saying? We had a Cincinnati Bengals team who we felt like their offensive line needed a lot of work to go in there and manhandle the Buffalo Bills in their house through the snow for 4 quarters. You know what I'm saying? The Buffalo Bills had there was nothing they can do with them. And then, like you said, Willie, that offense looked like they didn't make any adjustments. They didn't, change what they needed to do. Everything was trying to go down the field, down the field, down the field, which forced Josh Allen to be under a lot of pressure, make mistakes, and just be in a bad position. Okay. So yes, that's the bad last taste that we had in our mouth. But I can't just throw away everything else they did throughout their season with a lot of the key guys that they actually brought back. Guys like Matt Milano, another key re-signing in which it was a real strong possibility he was going to be gone was Jordan Poyer. You know what I'm saying? Bringing him back to pair with Micah Hyde. I think those two guys, caused a lot of problems on that defense. And with Micah Hyde missing a lot of last year, I think they had a great impact on their defense and what they could potentially do and what they were able to do on how they were to perform on that field. He's a leader on that defense, and not having him definitely, I think, had a huger impact. And I think a lot of times that safety play, especially when you got a leader at safety, can affect the corner play too. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm a corner and I can't trust the guy behind me, it forces me to do more than what I'm supposed to do and play out of position. So I think he'll have a huger impact than people can actually see on the field. So having him there is going to be good. I think Tremaine Edmonds, there was a loss that I think they'll have to replace, but I don't think it's that significant to where this defense still can't be solid and be good. Von Miller, yes, he is a question mark. You know what I'm saying? He is a question mark in terms of will he be the same guy? I don't know if he'll be the same guy, especially coming off another injury. He's getting older, so who knows how durable he can be? Can he give you a full 17? You know what I'm saying? Do you do like the NBA does, man? Do you give him a pitch count? Do you say, Von Miller, chill, bro? Fourth quarter coming around the corner. We need you to close this game out. Now you can go. You know what I'm saying?
That's what they was doing last year, and he got hurt with the load management.
Yeah, so I don't know, man, but we'll see how that plays out. But as you said too, Willie Jack, the Dalton Kincaid tight end draft, I think was huge because when we talk about that Cincinnati Bengals game, the game they lost in the playoffs, now that gives them an opportunity to for somebody to consistently get open underneath. Gabe Davis is not that guy. The only guy that can consistently get open on this offense, was Stephon Diggs. But when you throw a lot of bodies in Stephon Diggs and rely strictly on Gabe Davis, you know what I'm saying, to try to get open to create separation, that's not his game. Yeah, we saw him make somebody fall in the Kansas City Chiefs game, you know what I'm saying? But like my dog Miles say, even the blind squirrel can find a nut. You know what I'm saying? They got to survive. They got to eat too. So that's not something that he did on a regular basis. He's not a router upper. He's not routing people.
He's not a router upper.
Yeah, make it step up, man. That's how we rolling. He's not a router upper. You know what I'm saying? That's not what he does on a play-to-play basis, man.
Hey, look, I let you live with Huger. I was like, wait, I don't know if you can say Huger.
I said that too.
You said Huger like twice. What? Like, man, look,
that boy out here tripping. I'm out here talking crazy. But he's not a great route runner or a guy that uses route running to create separation like a guy like Stephon Diggs. So adding a Dalton Kincaid creates another weapon for this offense that can create separations, create matchup problems, and be another weapon on this offense to where, hey, I don't have to target Stephon Diggs on each and every play. So now this is what we can do. We can shift our offense this way, and this ultimately is going to make things better for Josh Allen. He doesn't have to take off running every third play. You know what I mean? So ultimately, I still like the Buffalo Bills as a fourth team, and I think they come in and do what they continue to do over the last few years and be a legit contender to make a good run at the Super Bowl. So I got the Buffalo Bills in my number 4 spot.
No, and like I said, man, they were at 5 for me, but that's not like I went back and forth with them and the Seahawks, and honestly, man, like I really feel like their arrow is pointing down from this point last year, and I think the Seahawks arrow is pointing up, man. So that's why I ended up going Seahawks 4 and Buffalo 5. But they were 4, 5, like they were right there in that mix for me as well. Like I say, and then plus So I agree with the things you were saying, for sure.
And here's another thing. I see Dave coming. He commented too. He said that tight end pickup was huge. They need a running back that had no production out the backfield. So here's the thing too, and I think this is going to surprise some people. And of course, he's not like a huge difference maker, but they bring over running back from the Patriots, Damian Harris. Damian Harris, if anything else, he runs hard, and then when it comes to that fourth quarter, he can mow you down. He can wear down the defense, and he can be that running back that the Bills need, and maybe add like a little bit of a 1-2 punch with James and Damian Harris or Singletary. Yeah,
no, that's what I was gonna say. I think he's a perfect addition to what they've gotten James Cook. So James Cook is looked to be the kind of shifty third down style back and kind of change the pace guy. So now you got Damian Harris. So that is just like my dog Chop was saying, man. Hopefully they could get that going and be some style of like 1-2 punch. And then, like I said, man, that offensive line was a worry for me. They do add Osiris Torrance, the guard from Florida, to come in. I expect that maybe he wins that starting right guard spot. And so to help, I guess, add some girth. But he was a big guy, but he wasn't necessarily like a mauler. He was more of like a big technician. You know what I'm saying? But it still should be improving on that offensive line, which wasn't great last year. And so, but I like you said, man, I think that Damian Harris signing was definitely a little underrated, especially what he could do, like I said, man, tag teaming with James Cook.
For sure. All right, Willie Jack, on to my number 3 spot, man. I'm going to move on to number 3, and I'm going to go to Cincinnati Bengals, man. Cincinnati Bengals is my number 3 team in the NFL. And for me, they didn't make any major changes during this offseason. Of course, the biggest move that they made was bringing in offensive tackle Orlando Brown. So hopefully he can be the missing piece for this particular team. But for Bengals, they're just hoping that everything can remain consistent. They can become as dangerous or stay as dangerous as they were the past 2 years in the playoffs, make their full run, and continue to compete to get into a Super Bowl. So the offensive line, as we talked about a little bit earlier, was still a little bit of a struggle. They're hoping that Brown can come in and be, like I said, that missing piece to bring it all together and keep Burrow off the ground. He was on the ground a little too much these last 2 years, and that's not what you want for your franchise guy, especially a guy like Joe Burrow. And he likes to run anyway. They also add a little bit of pass rush in the draft by bringing in the athletic edge rusher from Clemson and Myles Murphy. I like that move. Adds a little bit more pass rush to this particular defense. But other than that, you got a lot of young talent on this particular team when you're talking about the Chase, the Higgins. Mixon is not as young anymore, but Joe Burrow still young. So this Cincinnati Bengals team was dangerous. They bring back a lot of those same guys. I think they'll be dangerous again this year. Hopefully Orlando Brown gets it together, but Joe Burrow has already shown us, man, even if the line doesn't play tip-top or top of the league type ball, they still are a dangerous team, and they can beat just about anybody in this league. So I got the Cincinnati Bengals as my number 3 team.
No, and that's perfect, man, because Cincinnati is my number 3 as well. So it turns into a little bit of a tag team. And so
my bad, bro. Miles. I'm sorry.
Hey, look, the one time somebody listening, that's what he heard. The one time.
Right, come on. We got to keep it going.
Hey, man, look. The biggest for me are also number 3, man. You got to start at the top, man, with Joe Beasley. Joe Bird, man. Y'all know what's going on, man. And so you got one of the ones at the top, man. So you always going to be a contention for sure. And so Joe Burrow is definitively one of those. That wide receiver core, you still got, the young hot shot Jamar Chase. You got his counterpart, man, and T. Higgins for sure. I'm not sure. Like, I don't have much faith in that. Well, I don't want to say I don't have much faith. Well, yeah, I can't say that. That offensive line still hasn't garnered much faith since last year. So last year, on paper, this time last year, they went out and signed brought in 4 brand new offensive linemen. It was supposed to be like they revamped it all in one fell swoop, brought in all these guys because we saw Joe Burrow get sacked 12 times in a playoff game and still win and go to the Super Bowl when he played the Titans. So then they got to thinking like, man, imagine if we just had linemen that could block instead of making them get sacked 10 times a game. so So they go out and sign these dudes. You get Lael Collins. You bring over, I think, Alex Kappa from the Bucks and Ryan. I can't even remember the guys now. You go and remake this offensive line. And the thing I think I questioned at the beginning of the year is like, man, it's all good on paper until we see it. And then week one against my Steelers, man, they get hog molly. You know what I mean? And then it was a trend. So the O line was still an issue even after all the additions last year. But just Cool Joe, man, was able to overcome. But this year now, Joe Mixon, I think definitively had a down year. He's also been in the news a little bit. They say he's the guy that's already had trouble. He got in a little bit more trouble this year. I really thought he may get cut. Because he's got a huge cap hit as well. He's also, I think he's around 28. And honestly, there was key parts in the games last year where he was replaced by Samaje Perine. You know what I'm saying? So for a guy that's going to carry a $15 million cap number, they save 10 if they cut him. I really thought they might have cut it, or they may have cut him. And then also he may still get cut. We don't know. I don't know if it may be like a post June 1st is another popular cut day as well. And so it's still not promised there. I like the addition of Chase Brown, the running back, the twin brother of Sidney Brown from Illinois. And so he's a nice kind of compact, speedy back as well. If he shows well, then yeah, I would imagine they're looking for any excuse they can to move on from Joe Mixon if they have something there. Just like I said, with the money and the trouble that he costs and the trouble that he brings. But I do also like the addition of Myles Murphy. I didn't love it. I mean, like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of Myles Murphy or as far as his film, but you still got some pieces on that defense, that front seven. They still need a true difference maker, though. Like, they don't have like a guy that just adds real juice. It's more so kind of collective of the whole as far as that front seven is concerned. The secondary, they've had a lot of moving pieces there as well. They're still trying to sort through. So I don't expect it to be easy. The AFC North is still going to be competitive. We've got a Ravens team that are bouncing back for sure. You still got my Steelers kicking around. We still got my Steelers there kicking around, and we're not going to go away as well. So, and then we still got the upstart Browns. And so there's a lot of people that have been high on these Browns, man. I'm seeing these Browns get a little too much love in some of these power rankings that I've seen, man, surprisingly. But there's a lot of expectations for Deshaun Watson's second year, his second full year now. And then, so people are expecting a big jump. And so, like I said, that division's still going to be tough, man. But I'm still putting money on Cool Joe. Because, like I said, he one of the ones, man. So I'm always be in the corner one of the ones, man, until you show me otherwise.
For sure. And I'm with you there, Willie Jack. I'm definitely with you there, Willie Jack. So they know my number 3 team too.
He said, "Oh, okay." He talking about the game.
Yeah, he talking about basketball. Go ahead, jump into your number 2 then, Willie Jack. I'm gonna see if we got the same top 2, man. Well, we got the same top 2. Let's see if we got the same order. Let's see how that.
Well, my number 2, I'm going Kansas City.
I'm with you there. Let's double team.
All right, there we
go.
We
might double team the rest of this list, Willie Jack. Let's go.
For sure. So yeah, I'm going Kansas City. Patty Casey, number 2, man, defending Super Bowl champion. And honestly, man, it's one of those things where it's interesting to see how they constructed this team around Patrick. And then it's funny as well because even like Patrick signed all that. Signed that massive contract, kind of rewrote the record books or the contract books when he signed that 10-year, $450 million deal with the Chiefs. And so it's interesting because the topic of it came up with the news of the Jalen Hurts and then the Lamar Jackson signings is that another aspect of Lamar Jackson's deal is that he's going to make like $156 million in the first 3 years of that contract, which is a record. So he's going to make $156 million in the first 3 years. Patrick Mahomes, when he signed that deal, the first 3 years of that deal, he made $63 million, which sounds ludicrous. You know what I'm saying? And then even Jalen Hurts with his deal, Lamar Jackson's going to make more than both of them in the first 3 years of that deal. Jalen Hurts, I think in his first 3 years, he's only going to make like $80 million. Only, we're talking relative, of course. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't even know if it was that much. And so he hasn't really got paid to that effect. But what they were able to do was it allowed them to keep Travis Kelce. It allowed them to keep Tyreek Hill. Now they kept him. They signed him to another contract. Now he didn't stay for a third contract, but it allowed them to afford him for that second one. Him and Travis Kelce. And so his money's due to kick in. I don't know if it's this season or if they got one more weird contract, the way it's structured or something before that money kicks in. But the only guys they're paying on offense are Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And then what's so crazy about that is that's been all they needed, pretty much. If you still got Big Red, you still got Andy on the side, he can cook something up. We'll get something going. You know what I'm saying? We'll figure something out. We got Patty and Travis, and so they're the only two guys getting paid on offense. We still want to see a step taken from these young guys on the outside. Want to see a step taken by Sky Moore, man. Me and Chop were both fans of his. Coming into this season as a rookie, and so definitely want to see if he can step into the player that I was expecting him to be, or what I thought I saw when I was coming to the draft process. You still got Kadarius Toney, another guy I liked coming out of Florida, put me in the mind of like a diet Percy Harvin. You know what I'm saying? A junior Percy Harvin. That style of like talent and skill set is what I mean by that. And then you still got MVS as your big body, just height, weight, speed guy. That defense. Led by Chris Jones, of course, but I really like the addition of Felix Unadike Uzama out of Kansas State. He was one of my top 5 edge rushers. It's something like that. Felix, middle name Uzama. You know what I'm saying, for Kansas State. And he's a Kansas City guy as well. So he's a local boy that's playing for the hometown team. So from Kansas City, played at Kansas State. Now he got drafted by the Chiefs. And so really like that addition to that offensive line, like I said, and what they've got going, man. So just more of the same, man. As long as Patty Kex is there and he's still young, he's still healthy, especially while he still has his number one dependable go-to guy in Travis Kelce. If Kelsey's got 2 more elite top tier, like top of the league, top of the position type of years left, so this season and maybe next, I think those are definitely still a wide open Super Bowl window for Patty until we see Travis finally kind of maybe take a step down or take a step, crest that hill. He's found a way to kind of get to the hill and sit it there for a little plateau before actually coming down, because he's getting older as well. He's about 32, 33 if I'm remembering right. And so, but as long as he's still there and healthy, man, that window's still open. And so I think they're still within that time frame where they're contenders every single year, game in and game out, and don't appear to be going anywhere anytime soon.
Gotcha. And I'm with you with a lot of what you said, Willie Jack. Hey, man, it's been simple for the Chiefs, this year, and that's the formula that they're gonna follow, man. It's Pat Mahomes, it's Chris Jones, it's Travis Kelce, it's those guys that they building this team around. Now they do have the loss of Orlando Brown, which I think, and that's the one that I feel like hurts a little bit more than any of the other changes or moves that they made, just for the simple fact that I saw Pat Mahomes have to scramble and run around and run for his life in the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Bucks a few years ago. You know what I'm saying? So I know how that.
We seen it last year with the Eagles. we seen it last year with the Eagles too.
Yeah, but he didn't get sacked not one time against them. You know what I'm
saying? He got away from the Eagles. He was running around though, but yeah, he got away from the Eagles.
He got away from the Eagles, but I feel like it still can impact them. I know Pat Mahomes is real good, and I try to prevent myself from saying, man, it don't matter. The guy gonna get the job done. He is in the regular season, but when it comes to playoff ball, that still can make a difference, which is why the defending Super Bowl champs are not my number one team on this list. And I have another team in which we probably got the same team. But I think that Orlando Brown, like I said, that move will be the hugest move. We'll see how that kind of works out for them and see what that looks like for their team going into this next year. But hey, man, like I said, they built off of their core, and then you got Andy Reid still back there doing his thing, and I think this team is going to continue to be, play at the top. And this past year, after I had a lot of questions about once Tyreek Hill was gone, what this team is going to look like. After seeing it, I think that they're gonna be just fine. This Pat Mahomes led team is gonna be fine. They're gonna continue to be in a conversation. That's why I got them on my number 2 team. Now, jumping to number 1. Of course, without further ado, man, we gotta talk about the
Atlanta Falcons.
They might be on the team I'll talk about after this. That's who they might be.
Joe, go ahead and take us to number 1, bro. Go ahead and take us to number 1.
But my number 1 team on this list gotta be the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know my dog Dave, he probably appreciates hearing this, man. But the Philadelphia Eagles, man, with the offseason that they had, with the team that they had last year in general, I got to get them the best team in the league. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about a team that was already solid on both sides of the ball. When you talk about that defense that led the league in sacks, you know what I'm saying? That offense that was a top 5 offense. Jalen Hurts taking that step up from being a quarterback where we didn't know who he was going to be to being a legit quarterback, playing almost lights out with the one mistake. One mistake in the Super Bowl kind of cost them the game. And I'm gonna take that back. That didn't cost them the game because there was a few other things that the Eagles didn't do that cost them the game in the Super Bowl. Like we just talked about, get a sack after they led the league in a sack, or get as much pressure on Pat Mahomes.
Two plays probably kept them from the Super Bowl.
Man, it was just it's crazy how when you just talk about it, think about it, and see what happened. But overall, man, this was the best team all year long last year, and then going into this year, they lose a couple pieces, but then they go right back in the draft, go right back to free agency, and they start getting those pieces right back. You know what I'm saying? We talked about the Jalen Carter pickup. We talked about the Nolan Smith draft. You know what I'm saying? We talk about a lot of those guys. We talked about, adding DeAndre Swift to that backfield now. You know what I mean? We talk about bringing, and I think this was huge, and kind of, I don't think people kind of understand how good of or how big these moves were. But both of these players were almost out of the door, and James Bradbury and Darius Slay being able to bring those guys back and add them to and keep them on the team. I think all of those moves are huge, and I feel like this Eagles team is poised and ready to make another push at that Super Bowl run, man. And with the when it comes to them and the Chiefs, the reason I got the Eagles at number one is because their overall team. You know what I mean? The Chiefs have a few pieces and they got a few heavy hitters, and they're kind of top heavy.
Man, there's three players. If we line up every roster, you're only going to pick three players from the Chiefs. You're going to pick four. I'll give you Creed Humphrey. No, I'll give you Creed Humphrey right now.
They got a few guys. But what I'm saying is,
there's four guys. You'll pick Travis Kelce. You'll pick Creed Humphrey, and you'll pick
Chris Jones.
And Chris Jones. There you go. You'll pick Chris Jones.
Miles just mentioned him. I might go Nick Bolton on that list too, man. I might add Nick Bolton. If you're talking about them and the Chiefs, I might add Nick Bolton to that. But of the top 22, most people would pick more Eagle players than Chiefs players. Just
even deeper. That's what I'm saying. Even deeper than the top 22, 53 for 53. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think roster for roster, I think the Eagles are just a better team top to bottom. You know what I'm saying? I just think that. Like I said, the Chiefs are heavier at the top.
For sure. Absolutely, Willie Jack. So,
hey, real quick, man, I put this one up. What you think about what our dog Scoop said, man? Dave told me, he said Jalen Hurts is the best leader in the league. I'm not knocking his leader skill, but man, best leader in the league, man. He's been the leader of that team for 2 years. I'm trying to think of what about even the leader that Patrick Mahomes is? You know what I'm saying? Nah, if best Joe Burrow, I'm going Burrow in there too.
I think I would go Patty Mahomes above Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I would have to really sit down and think about that one. I haven't really.
That's a different conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, not sure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like that's why I want to put it.
I would have to wrap my brain around that one for sure. But overall, like I said, the reason I got the Eagles number one over the Chiefs is because of overall roster, man. You know, when you go 53 for 53, like you said, Willie Jack, or 22 for 22 for me is what I was really, kind of focusing on. But go ahead, Willie Jack.
But no, man. So I've got the Eagles there as well. And this is the thing about it, man. So our dog Miles, man, he said the Chiefs should be number one. We tripping. But the thing about it is, man, like the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're, like I said, supreme at the top. They're extremely top heavy, and they've got knockout power. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're Deontay Wilder. I don't want to just make that. I don't want to say they don't have skill. What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter. A lot of things could go wrong, and they can still touch you one time and put you to sleep. You know what I'm saying? And so they have that magic. They have that magic knockout power. That's who the Chiefs are. And so that's always going to be dangerous any day of the week. But the most dominant team in football last year was the Philadelphia Eagles. And I see a team that still got better. I saw the most dominant team in football get better this offseason. I saw them improve the defensive line with the addition of Jalen Carter at 9, which is highway robbery. And then you still get Nolan Smith at 30, highway robbery again. And now you're adding them to what we saw from Hassan Riddick, who gave you 16 and a half sacks last year. And then, like you said, man, that young core, we still haven't even got to see the best of Jordan Davis because he was injured, battling injury. Well, now he gets to come back, and his old running back Jalen Carter's right there next to him. Nakobe Dean takes over at inside linebacker. arguably there was people saying in that organization that maybe he could have been starting last year. So now Nakobe Dean is going to be the starter. You upgrade. I think he's going to be an upgrade over what they got from TJ Edwards last year, as far as his athleticism for sure. I think Nakobe Dean is a very good athlete at the middle linebacker position. And so all told, I would think that could end up being an upgrade there. And then just like my dog Chop said, you still find a way. You went from losing both of them to bringing both of them back. You bring back Darius Slay. You bring back James Bradbury. Now, Bradbury, I think, is better in that system and playing across from Slay, but then individually. But like I said, his value on that team versus somewhere else, he's more value on that team. So it makes sense for both of those sides. Both the Eagles and Bradbury are better together. You know what I mean? So I think it makes sense. Now you do lose Chauncey Gardner Jr. Chauncey Gardner Johnson Jr.
There you go.
You do lose him. Now, which is big, but the thing about it is he was a very integral part of that defense, but he missed a lot of time. I mean, he made his mark early, you know what I mean? But he did miss a lot of time. And so they have played without him and played well. Now they do bring over Terrell Edmonds from my Steelers, who's doesn't have the high upside of CGJ, but he is dependable. He is a very solid tackler. And like I said, man, he's a good, just all around, just jack of all trades, master of none style guy that can fit into that defense. So all said, man, I really like that. On the other side, I really like that addition to DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift coming in there to be the running back and teaming up with Rashad Penny. We talked about 1-2 punch earlier when we talked about whoever it was we were just talking about. Who was we talking about earlier? We said a 1-2 punch.
We were talking about Damian Harris and was we talking about?
And James Cook. There we go. Yeah, Damian Harris, James Cook. So we think that may be a 1-2 punch that could get something going. DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny can be truly dynamic. Rashad, now the only thing Rashad Penny, like I said, is he hasn't been able to stay on the field either. But when he's on the field, he's been a guy that it's hard to say he's not been top 10. The last 10 games he's played, he's been top 5. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as his yardage, he's averaged like 7 yards a carry over his last like 10 games played. It's something outrageous like that. Maybe that's too strong. Maybe it's 6 yards a carry, but it's something crazy when he's been on the field, but he's just been injured. And then you still get DeAndre Swift as well. And when he's been injured, he's a guy that he can threaten 40-yard plays whenever he touches the ball. Now, in this offense, which is going to even open things up more for him with the threat of Jalen Hurts running the ball still as well, like, man, the Eagles for me, man, are definitely in position to run it back. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, here's another thing as well. And I said it last year after the Super Bowl, on our show after the Super Bowl, I said it last year as well. And I don't mean to say this going forward or saying this for this year, but the Eagles were the most dominant team in football last year. Jalen Hurts was the best quarterback on the field in that Super Bowl last year. Jalen Hurts was the best quarterback on that field in that game. In that Super Bowl in that Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback on the field. You know what I'm saying? And so this is a guy that took a massive step forward. I do agree with Dave. I think he is one of the better leaders in this league, bar none. And I definitely think he's got a team around him that's everybody's ready to dive headfirst into a brick wall off a cliff. You know what I'm saying? And so I do agree with his thoughts there as far as his leader. But just seeing him, we'll see how that team looks with new coordinators on both sides of the ball. So maybe we don't know how that's going to play out or how smooth that transition is going to be. But this is still a team that, like I said, the most dominant team, 2 plays that kept them away from a championship. One of them was a 14-point swing. You know what I mean? Jalen Hurts just flat out lost one. Nick Bone, the man of the hour, picks it up and runs for a touchdown. You know what I mean? And so for a lot of reasons, man, the most dominant team, I still like what they did going forward. And like I said, I don't see any reason at all to think that they can't show back up and run it back and look eerily similar to the dominance we just saw last year.
For sure. All right, Willie Jack.
Hey, my dog Miles, man, he said run that NFC Championship back. Man, look, even before the Brock thing, I think we both picked the Eagles to win that game. But it definitely, even before Brock got hurt, man, they didn't have an answer for Hassan Reddick early in that game, which is what led to the injury happening. But there was some trouble there. The Eagles took a little while to get going as well in that game. So I mean, I don't want to completely discount it, but once they got rolling, it was a one-sided fight pretty soon. But like I said, it is a good point. Like I said, it was 10 against 11 once Brock Purdy got injured. But
for sure.
But I think the best team I think made it. You know what I mean? So I do think the Eagles were the best team in the league last year from top to bottom, record wise, roster wise, how they looked and appeared on the field. I think they were the best team in football last year, and they made it to the Super Bowl. So I don't think I think they were where they were supposed to be.
All right, okay. Well, real quick, Willie Jack, man, we running over just a little bit, but real quick, give me a couple things. First and foremost, give me one honorable mention team that just missed your list, man. Real quick.
All right. Well, all right, okay. We already talked about Detroit. I'll tell you what. I'll probably go with Minnesota.
Mm.
I'll go with Minnesota. I really like the addition of Jordan Addison to that offense, but I don't know how much fruit is going to bear in that first year. But I do think going forward, he's going to be a nice addition, a nice tag team partner to Justin Jefferson. I do like T.J. Hockenson, the addition they made there. But they've still got holes in that offense. They've still got holes on that team as well. I don't like what we're going to get out of Dalvin Cook. There's talks that he may be on the trade block or even getting cut with his contract, but he's still a pretty young guy. And then like I said, that defense has some holes as well. Well, I'm waiting to see how that secondary shapes out. And then so they've got some holes there on their roster. And a lot of the games they won last year were those kind of it was those magical when the ball just bounced their way, like extra. Like the ball bounces everybody's way. Like you'll give one up, you should have lost one, and you'll win one, you probably should have lost. Well, it seemed like in all those games they had like 6 games like that, and they won all 6. And so we've seen that happen before, where they were like 12-5 or 13-4.
They were 13-4.
13-4, and like I said, there's 6 games there's like 6 games that they end up winning. Where generally speaking, where if the averages kind of play out, they probably go 3-3 in those games. You know what I'm saying? So it was a 13-win team, 13 wins that probably it was a 10-win team that won 13 games. You know what I'm saying? And so I think they do come back down to earth a little bit, and especially I think the Lions are going to try to take a step forward as well. So it'll definitely be competitive there for them, and so that's why they just missed mine.
Gotcha. And that's actually who I was going to mention too, Willie Jake. So I tag team with you on that one. We kind of talked about a lot of the other teams that I had kind of in that area with the Jets and the Jaguars and all those different teams. So the dang, what did I try to say? The Minnesota Vikings, man, they were a team. If they couldn't do anything else, they can put up points. They could put up points. They could put them up in a bunch. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why they got to 13-4. Their defense was atrocious and they gave up everything, but the offense was scoring at will, especially with the addition of T.J. Hockenson. When they brought T.J. Hockenson over there, it was like their offense, which was already good, took another step forward. You know what I'm saying? So that offense looked very good. So that was another team that I had kind of in that mix. You know what I mean? But I still think that the Detroit Lions, baby, they taking over that division this year, man. And I think the defense,
I think so as well.
The defense not being good finally catches up with them, and they lost Eric Kendricks too. Eric Kendricks and Pat P. Now, for all it's worth, Pat P is not the same player he once was.
Now, he had a very good year with them last year.
He had a really very good year last year. But they do add Byron Murphy, man. They do add Byron Murphy to that mix. You know what I'm saying, to come into that defense. But I still don't think it's enough for that defense to make much noise. So I still think they struggle a little bit. Now, before we leave, Willie Jack, who's the worst team in the NFL, dog?
Yeah, you take this one first, man. I started the honorable mention, man. Who you got?
I'm going Chicago Bears, man.
Wow.
I'm going Chicago.
I didn't see that coming.
So here's the thing, Willie Jack. I looked at a few different teams. First off, I wasn't finna say my team. that was off the market, just off the screen. Just because I couldn't do it. But realistically though, I couldn't say the Rams because I feel like Matthew Stafford is coming back healthy now. And with Matthew Stafford as your quarterback, I still think they have a chance with him to cook when they start cooking.
No?
They still have a chance to cook, man, with them back there, which can get them a few wins. I'm not saying they're gonna make the playoffs or anything like that, but I think that with them cooking, they can get a few wins. Okay, the other team in that mix, Atlanta Falcons.
Don't. Okay, well I say be careful. Listen to.
I ain't gonna listen to me. But I was looking at all these teams, and the reason why I settled on the Bears was the risk reason. Okay, you know how much I love Justin Fields. You know what I'm saying? And I was a fan of him. I don't necessarily think that he is the passer that they would need him to be in the NFL, which is why I feel like, yes, he can run the ball, but that's only going to get you so far. You see, he was even got nicked up a little bit last year. You know what I'm saying? He ran the ball very, very well. You know what I'm saying? But he got nicked up a little bit last year. They lose David Montgomery, and now they got a running back full of guys, you know, that are going to be trying to compete for that spot. They bring over DJ Moore. Now that was a good addition, but if Justin Fields is not the passer, I don't think that's going to matter as much. And then their defense took a huge step back with the pieces that they lost last year too. So I don't know how much better the Bears are going to be than they were last year. Even with all the flashes that Justin Fields showed, they still only won 3 games. You know what I'm saying? They still had the number 1 overall draft pick, you know what I'm saying, going into this offseason, you know, and traded it away. So I feel like this year they won't be one of those teams. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I got the Bears as the worst team in the NFL for me.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, man. I didn't see that. Like, I don't think they're gonna be great by any stretch. I'm not saying that.
Gotcha.
I don't see them being. They're not gonna be worse than the Arizona Cardinals. For me, this one almost felt like a gimme when I really thought about it. The Cardinals, that Cardinals roster with Kyler Murray is a bottom 3 roster in the league, and he's not even on that roster. So he's not expected to. He's expected to miss as many as the first 10 weeks, and by that time the season might be over. And so it's more likely that he just doesn't play at all next season on a team that's got a aging DeAndre Hopkins who they can't find anybody to trade with, or they're trying to get rid of him as well. And then there's just nobody else there. And so for that reason, man, I think I went to Cardinals. The Bears, I'm not gonna lie, man, and I really like the addition of DJ Moore. I've been a big DJ Moore guy since he came in the league, though. So I really like that addition, and I think that gives Fields a chance to maybe have a guy to have a real weapon to build with. So we've seen, Darnell Mooney, but Darnell at his best is going to be he's a 2.5. Like, I don't even know if I want him as my full-fledged 2. He's a 2.5. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can step in and pinch hit and be a 2, but I feel more comfortable if he's my third option. You know what I mean? DJ Moore is a guy that I think is a 1.5. Like, he could be a 1, but maybe he hasn't shown that he's an elite dominant 1. But I think he could sit in that seat, for lack of better words. I think, like I said, he could sit in that seat, especially on that roster where there's just not much else to stop him from being them completely sculpting and molding that passing game around him and Justin Fields. And then I do like what they did in the run game. I think David Montgomery, I think him leaving, I don't think that's as big a loss as it is for you. And I like the kid they got for Texas, the backup for Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson. I think he's a starter. Roschon Johnson could have transferred for Texas and been a starter on a number of other Power 5 football teams. He was just backing up Bijan Robinson. So I think he's going to be a starter, and I like what he can do he is a more of a one-cut downhill runner, but that plays well in a read option scheme. Because it's a delayed handoff. And so when he takes it, put your foot in the ground and get north and south, and that's exactly what he excels at. So I think that run game could actually improve because there was weeks where it was all Justin Herbert, and then the combination of Montgomery and Khalil Herbert couldn't get it done, either one of them or the other, because one was hurt, or the two of them together, and they just couldn't get it done. So I do like that. I don't know, man. I don't see them being worse than the Cardinals. I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Cardinals. Colt McCoy was the backup last year. Colt McCoy is going to start 17 games for the worst roster in football. Or they drafted a kid in the 5th round, Clayton Tune, out of Houston. You know what I mean? So he's going to be the guy that starts with that roster, which is still a D-hop away from being the very worst roster in the league. So for me, it was between the Cardinals and not the Falcons. I think the Falcons can low-key win some games. That Falcons team, as trash as they was last year behind Mariota's terrible play, they won, 6-7 games? Desmond Ridder, I think this year is going to be an upgrade, just being a full-fledged starter from the season, and with Bijan, that running game, which was already a top 3 running game in the league. Now you add Bijan, a supremely dynamic guy. They solidified that offensive line by re-signing their 2 free agents at guard and tackle position. They've added a lot of names to that defense. Now, I still don't think they're going to be great, but that division is still pretty weak top to bottom. So they could still, if they still floated around 6 wins, it wouldn't surprise me for the Falcons. But the Titans, I think, are going to be a bottom 3 team. The Cardinals, the Texans, and the Titans were the teams that came to mind for me. because, like I said, that Titans roster there is Derrick Henry, but that offensive line is same things I was worrying about last year when I was talking about that offensive line. It's even worse again. It's even like I said, it's that much worse. There's nobody, no weapon on the outside. There's nobody out there. I just that defense still needs a. I mean, they've got Justin Simmons and they've got a couple pieces there, but that Titans team is going to take a big step back. But for me, I'm going to Cardinals.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it, Willie Jack. Recap your list real quick, man, and then we're gonna wrap them on up, dog.
Yes, sir, Ski. So for me, man, number 1, Philadelphia Eagles. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 3, Joe Burrow's Cincinnati Bengals. Number 4, Big Gino and the Seattle Super Seahawks. Number 5, Big Josh's Buffalo Bills. Number 6, Aaron's New York Jets. Number 7, Dak's Dallas Cowboys. Number 8, the well-oiled machine San Francisco 49ers. Number 9, the $260 million man Lamar Jackson's Baltimore Ravens. And number 10, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, man. This is the episode we got to keep, Willie Jack. We got to keep this one, man. This was a good one, and I want to see how these teams play out, man. My number 1 and my first, well, actually, my top 3 was the same as yours, Willie Jack. Number 1, I got the Eagles. 2, Chiefs. 3, Bengals. 4, that's where I had the Bills. 5, I had the Ravens at 5, up from your spot at 9. At number 6, I went with the 49ers. 7, the Chargers. 8, I went with the Cowboys. 9, Dolphins. 10, the Detroit Lions. Willie Jack. That's it, and that's all.
That's all.
That's it. That's all. Wrap us on up, dog.
Hey, there we go. Hey, that's it. You heard my dog 7. That's it. That's all. We came. We saw. We conquered. You know what's going on, man. So, post draft top 10 heading into the season, man. On paper right now, like I said, I imagine by the time we get ready for the regular season, we'll probably revisit these lists and maybe make a fresh top 10 heading into the actual season. The last remaining little remnants of free agency will have played out. Preseason or the final rosters are finalized. So I imagine we'll probably come back and maybe revisit these lists then. But other than that, man, y'all know what's going on, man. Y'all know we appreciate the love. Y'all know we appreciate all the love support, man. Shout out to the members that was in the building today, man. Real quick, man, see what we got in here, man. So, man, first one in the door today was, man, OJ the Juice, man. OJ Dubs, man, was in the building, man. We appreciate the love, homeboy. Our dog, Tom. Tom in this Texas was in the building holding us down, man. Our dog Miles, man. Project Decision Payton, man. Holler at them boys online, man. They can get to you anywhere, man. It's 2023. Don't worry about it. They based in Atlanta, man. Plane, trains, and automobile, they can get to you. Do good business, man. Shout out to our dog Dave, man. Our dog David Tover's in the building, man. Shout out to Stink Prince as well. Find those folks online, man. I know they're on Instagram for sure. Website, man. Dave, if you got it, man, give it to us, man. So we could post it one time for you, big dog. So holler at Stink Prince as well, man. Y'all know what's going on. Man, the fan band was in the building, man. Shout out to my mama, my auntie. Appreciate the love as always. I know what's going on there. And last but not least, man, can't forget wifey. Can't forget sisters in the building. She was checking out my 4K. I appreciate you. And other than that, man, hey, if I forgot to say your name, damn, you can say it with me at home. Charge it to my head, man. Don't charge it to my heart. You know we thinking about you, big dog. We appreciate all the love and support as always, man. Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Come on, man. You know we don't wear no watches because we ain't got nowhere else to be right in here kicking football flavor with the fam. Now, other than that, man, y'all have fun. Y'all stay safe and y'all be smooth. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.